Okay, what's up? What's up? Good morning, everybody. Make sure the mic's on. Okay. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome. Thank you for stopping by. Uh, all over the place this morning. Sorry about that. Late again. Yesterday and today. Um, so this morning is supposed to start with the defense on I don't even remember whoever the hell that was yesterday. Somebody. Oh, the GSR expert, right? The GSR expert. So a couple of things going on. Good morning. Good morning. Rise and shine. We gotta do Kachava today too. I'm gonna get Kachava going in a second. What is up? What's up? What's up? What's up? A couple. Well, one. First of all, it's kind of cool. So the girls, the ladies, they're working on the merch stuff, man. I forget. Like all these people are here. The characters. Like who are all these people? The ladies. There's some pretty dope stuff that's coming. There's a lot more. So this stuff is coming. On a wine tumbler. Wait, how do you see that? This is like Johnny Depp stuff here coming. Let me see. Were you there? The Johnny Depp Mason. That Mason jar thing is the issue now. I remember because I was talking to Diggs this morning. The issue was that it's from Germany, so we can't do it because that Mason cup thing, I don't remember how much it was. It's ridiculous to ship it from Germany. It's like an actual Mason cup. So I really like this. She did a really good job with this one. This hoodie. It's like a zip up, but it has like the bloop bloop there on the side. iCkEdMeL on each side. The back is this shit. It looks really dope. But I got to work with them to get more. I got to give them more images and still images and pictures of myself and all that stuff. So it's coming. It's in the works. We still haven't done the trial merch either. So the trial stuff should be coming. It's in the works. That was kind of last night. And what's up? Good morning. Good morning. Oh, we need Alpha David too. That's true. We need Alpha David. A little bit of a rough morning. I feel like with a trial, like I'm trying to squeeze everything in, whether it's the morning before I start the stream or after I get off. Because yesterday I was talking to a sponsor, Data Seal sponsor, and I was talking to a couple of people. This morning was Diggs, and barely squeezed in Katrina because we needed to catch up. So the merch, I'd wait a little bit. There's stuff being added, and there's stuff that might be modified. I'd wait a little bit, but it's in the works. It's coming. It's coming. Yeah, we got to do the trial stuff for sure. And make sure you check out my channel sponsor, Swag It. Okay, it's a free app. You just click the link, download, and it really helps me out with conversion numbers to keep me in business, keep working with them. We're doing a giveaway at the end of the month, and it's a video app platform. So download it, click the link, follow me on there. My nose is like stuffed. I don't know why. My nose is stuffed this morning. Check out Swag It. You get swag bucks on there. You convert it to gift cards. I'm almost ready to cash out another 200 on there on through PayPal. Yeah, that hoodie is a zip up hoodie, Miyu. It's a zip up one. Ooh, hoax. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, to let the digs. Catch a lawsuit. I I didn't really get to work out as much as I wanted to this morning. I did a little bit of cardio, and that was it. I got stuck on the phone. I did pick up a wrap, the egg, cheese, and chicken wrap, but I'm gonna do my cachava first. I feel like I should go. Can I go do the cachava real quick? Let me go do the cachava right now so I can sip with you guys before they start. Cachava, man. Cachava.
Good morning. Ready for the jury?
State's ready. Defense ready.
You can bring the jury. Okay, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Day number 13, cross-examination.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Is it Agent Fletcher or Miss Fletcher?
Miss Fletcher is fine.
Are you an agent?
Technically, I am commissioned. However,
Okay.
I'm a forensic scientist.
Right. Okay. Well, Ms. Fletcher, just want to go over a little bit of what you testified about yesterday and hit some smaller points. But I mean, you pretty much you said this yesterday, but gunshot primer residue is not biodegradable, correct?
No, sir, they're composed of heavy metals of lead, barium, and antimony, so they're individual particles of those metals. They are not biodegradable.
So if gunshot primer residue is on a surface, it will stay on that surface and will not degrade for hundreds of years.
Potentially, there's not studies that go out that far, but potentially.
Right.
Huh.
But the only way that current science knows to get primer gunshot residue off of anything is through cleaning, wiping it off, scrubbing it off, spraying it off. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. And it comes out when a gun is shot, right?
Yes, that's how gunshot primer residue is formed. It comes out through the muzzle and in a semi-automatic through the ejector port or through a revolver through the muzzle gap. So any opening within the gun, it'll come out.
Yeah, so the gunshot primer residue will follow the projectile, whether it's pellets or a bullet, out the barrel of the gun, rifle, or pistol, will it not?
Yes, sir, it will.
And then if you have a semi-automatic rifle or shotgun, gunshot primer residue will go follow the discharge cartridge or shell shot as it opens up, right?
Yes, sir. Studies have shown as far as about 60 feet. Beyond that, they haven't been studied.
Okay. So within 60 feet of a gun being shot, there will be gunshot primer residue on whatever's around there. Fair enough?
Whatever's around the bullet, per se.
Okay.
When it gets out that far, it's more in the immediate vicinity of the bullet.
But for sure, gunshot primer residue will accumulate on the firearm that's being used, will it not?
Yes, sir, it will.
And if it's not properly cleaned and maintained, I mean, it'll stay there until it gets wiped off by someone's hand or left out in the rain or sprayed off, right?
Yes, sir, it will.
Okay. And when you were referring to transfer GSR, is that one of the things you're referring to?
Yes, sir. If you touch a gun that had been fired at any point, then you have the potential to transfer it to your hands.
Now, this jury has seen, throughout the course of the trial, a number of folks holding up some firearms that are in evidence. A couple of shotguns, 300 blackout, and they've seen they've seen witnesses hold up. Mr. Meadows held up yesterday this blue rain jacket, which you had identified having 38 particles or more on it. My question to you is it very possible that where you're sitting right now, there's gunshot primer residue?
That is a possibility. Yes,
Oh! Let go, my boy.
Now, you did some, you work in the Forensic Services Laboratory at SLED, correct?
correct.
And there's a trace evidence operation manual pertaining to gunshot primer residue analysis, correct?
Yes, sir, there is.
And that gunshot, you follow that manual, do you not?
Yes, I do.
And you agree with the statement that gunshot primer residue evidence is most probative in the following situations: from subjects who have not sustained a gunshot wound, from subjects who have not been in the proximity to the discharge of a firearm or admitted to discharging a firearm, and from subjects who were not found in the possession of a firearm.
I do agree with that. Yes, sir.
And that's a statement of your operations manual.
Yes, sir, it is.
And you obtained clothing, which we know is from Richard Alexander Murdaugh, shirt, shorts, and shoes. And did someone under your supervision did lifts from those clothing items so that you could analyze the particles, correct?
Yes, sir. Jamie Hall collected the particle lifts off of those items.
And those and that collection was done on June 8th, I believe, was it not?
Yes, sir, it was.
And are you aware that the clothes were collected on June the 8th?
Yes, sir, I was.
And were you aware that when the clothes were collected, they were wet?
I didn't know that they were wet until Jamie opened up the evidence, and it was evident that the shirt was a little damp and the shoes were definitely damp.
And so it's just been a few hours that, that they had been placed in some sort of bag, and you open it up and they're wet, and you smell laundry detergent.
That's correct.
Okay. Were you aware it had been raining that evening at Moselle?
I was not aware of that, no, sir.
The, in any event, you tested after Ms. Hall, is that it, Jamie Hall?
Yes, sir.
She did the lifts, and you located 3 particles from the white shirt.
Yes.
You were at 3 particles from the shorts.
Yes.
No particles from the shoes,
Yes.
and there was no particles on Mr. Murdaugh's hands.
There was
Oh.
one particle on his right hand.
I'm sorry, there was 1 particle on his hand. And you would agree that that amount of primer residue, gunshot primer residue found on an individual who you had been informed had a firearm in his hand when the police arrived, that it was consistent with the transfer from a firearm.
When I analyzed the evidence, I did not know that he had a firearm in his hand, but that would be consistent with somebody who had a firearm in his hand prior to collection.
Okay. Well, you learned that at least by June the 9th at 11:03 a.m. when you had a telephone call with Agent Owen, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you told him that that amount of gunshot residue would be consistent with the transfer from a firearm.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you stand by that here today?
I do.
Now, the seatbelt assembly, let's talk about that for a minute. You did lifts, you and Ms. Hall, or Agent Hall, did lifts of the buckle, is that right?
Yes, sir.
The latch plate, is that right?
Yes.
And then 3 spots along the belt, the webbing.
Yes, sir. 3 areas along the belt. We divided the belt into 3 sections and did both sides of it. And those were the 5 areas that we collected.
I see. So did you take lifts from the entire webbing?
Yes, sir. We retracted it as far as it would go, divided it into 3 sections.
I see.
And collected them.
And the results of the lifts, and you did analysis, was there's 1 particle on the buckle, right?
That's correct.
0 on the latch plate,
Correct.
0 on the belt, on any of the sections of the belt.
That's correct.
The
Ooh.
whole belt was 0. And
So why you bring it?
and
We
so
bring
they
it
found
in.
1 particle.
I confirmed 1 particle on the buckle. Yes, sir.
Oh,
And you can't say how or when the particle was deposited on the belt, can you?
I cannot.
oh Lord.
And I think you told this to Agent Owen that if Alec Murdaugh was shooting earlier in the day or anytime, at some
Bianca.
point in time while he had
Good
that
morning.
vehicle, and he got after shooting, he got in the vehicle that has the ability to transfer any gunshot residue primer to that vehicle, right?
Yes, sir. I cannot tell you when that particle was deposited.
So if he had had that vehicle for 2 years and he'd been out shooting and got in it, I could have deposited 1 particle on the buckle and it could stay there unless it got knocked off, right?
Yeah, unless it was cleaned, it could have stayed there. Yes, sir.
And if he went and got a gun and then put it in the car and then he got back in the car and he got transferred GSR on him and he could hit the buckle and that could put it on there, right?
Yes, sir. That could have happened.
It's just very, very small. You can't see it with a naked eye, but it stays there forever unless it's moved.
That's correct, sir. Yes, sir.
Now, you were also asked to do an analysis of blue rain jacket. Do you remember that?
Yes, sir. I did.
And once again, just like the seatbelt, there's no way for you to know when the gunshot primer residue was deposited on the blue rain jacket.
That's correct.
It could be at any point in time from the date that blue rain jacket was manufactured, right?
Well, probably not on the manufacturer date unless they were firing
Right.
guns in the manufacturing plant, but any time after a consumer takes possession, probably.
So if a consumer took possession of that garment 4 years ago, and we're going to talk about how you can get gunshot primer residue on it, but unless it's cleaned off or washed off, it'll stay for 4 years.
It could, yes.
And you have no idea how gunshot primer residue ended up on that garment, correct?
I cannot tell you how it got there
Okay. Or when it got there,
or when it got there.
or whether it was being worn when it got there, whether it was being worn inside out when it was deposited on there, or whether it was laid on top of a gun, for example.
I cannot tell you any of those scenarios.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if Mr. Randolph Murdaugh, are you aware that this rain jacket was found in a closet in September of 2021 at Mr. Randolph Murdaugh's home?
That was the information that was on the submission, yes.
And he died, I think, on June 10th, 2021. Were you aware of that?
I remember hearing news about it.
But if he, before he got into his truck, had taken off this poncho and flipped it over and threw it on the back seat of his truck where he kept his shotgun bow whoop, and it laid on top of this dirty old shotgun, it could have deposited 38 particles of gunshot primer residue, right?
If the shotgun was not clean, there is a potential for the transfer off of that shotgun, yes.
And if if bow whoop hadn't been cleaned in years, there would be
No objection. What's he saying?
bow whoop.
Bo Whoop.
B-O-W-H-O-O-P, the name of Mr. Randolph Murdaugh's shotgun.
Oh.
If that shotgun hadn't been cleaned in years, it'd be more likely you would get gunshot residue deposited on anything that came on top of it, right?
The transfer would be more likely, yes, sir.
Oh.
Now, you also testified that 38 particles of gunshot primer residue was a significant amount. You
Yes,
remember
sir.
saying that?
Yes, sir.
So I guess then you would agree with me that one particle on the hand is an insignificant amount.
I can just say that it was present. I can't tell you that it's insignificant, it's just there.
Yet you can say 38 is significant.
Because it's much more than you would expect on an
Yeah.
item that wasn't in the vicinity or didn't come into contact with an object with gunshot primer residue on it. One particle, I can't tell you when or how or it got there.
But the other one's significant, but you
Would
don't know about
agree
nothing
that
else.
3 particles on a shirt is an insignificant amount?
It's just 3 particles on a shirt, and it can be one of the 2 ways, or a combination of the 2 ways.
Now it's not
being in the vicinity
insignificant.
or
But the other
transfer.
one's significant. Oh, okay, I see.
Yet you're comfortable saying 38 is significant, but you're not comfortable saying 1 is insignificant.
Insignificant
Come on.
implies
Answer the
that
shit.
the evidence itself is insignificant, but it's a particle of gunshot primer residue. I'm not going to say that it's
Come on.
insignificant evidence.
Well, should you say 38 is significant, or do you say there's 38 particles on there?
Let's go.
Significant implying that it's a large amount, not that it's a small amount, but a large amount.
Come on,
So
man.
is 3 a small amount?
Not in how many that we get normally. It's about average.
Okay.
Come on, let's be straight across the board. Come on.
Now,
The bullshit. Sled.
in addition to the rain jacket, and I think that is item 173 in your lab, you were also provided a blue tarp, item 174. Do you remember receiving a blue tarp?
Yes, sir.
And
Blue tarp.
after discussing
Tarp
the
gate.
scenario presented by the witness with Captain Ryan Neal, you and he decided that there was no need to process the blue tarp seized from Almeida, correct?
Correct.
And are you aware that this witness was Shelley Smith?
I am now. I was not aware who the witness was at the time.
So in your conversation with Agent Ryan
Chava.
Neal, he says, don't worry about the tarp.
Objection to hearsay.
The objection is sustained.
Chava right now, man.
After your conversation with Ryan Neal about what a witness had relayed to him, you, in consultation with Agent Neal decided not to test the tarp.
That's correct. That was based on that the raincoat was balled up in a closet versus the tarp being folded in a container and in place in a location.
When you say balled up, what do you mean?
I wasn't there, so I don't know, but that was the information. It was haphazardly placed in the bottom of the closet.
Okay. If it had been folded and placed on top of some other items in the closet, would that have made a difference to you?
I'm not sure. That would have had to have been a discussion
Hey,
between the agents and my management.
have you seen all the photos of the search warrant where it was found and how it was folded or not folded, balled or not balled?
I've seen one photo.
Okay. The one that's in evidence here?
I'm not sure.
You were informed from Agent Neal that, or you concluded that the supposition was that the firearm was in contact with the rain jacket, correct?
I'm sorry?
You documented that the supposition was that the firearm was in contact with the rain jacket.
They were trying to determine, I think, whether a firearm was in contact with the rain jacket, and that was a possibility given my results.
Okay. Now, you, so, do you remember what you did with the blue tarp? You just put it in storage and it's never been taken out again, to your knowledge?
To my knowledge, I don't know what happened to the blue tarp.
Okay. Did you ever have any involvement with the blue tarp after it was presented to your evidence lab?
No, I did not.
The rain jacket do you know if fingerprints were taken off the rain jacket?
I don't know of any other analyses performed on the rain jacket.
Would you have been able to tell if there'd been lifts for fingerprints when it came to you?
For gunshot primer residue evidence, the trace lab always gets it first because any other processes might remove the gunshot primer residue, so no other analyses would have taken place prior to ours.
The rain jacket was slated, I believe you testified, for further DNA analysis.
That was what was on the outside of the box, yes, sir.
And because of that, you and Agent Jamie Hall wore gloves and a gown and a mask, right?
We always wear gloves and the lab jacket, but the mask was added because of the DNA request.
Oh, I forgot to turn on the
Do you know the
captions.
results of the DNA analysis?
I do not.
Oh, Lord. I normally never forget that I forgot this stream, and I can't turn it on now once I started. Damn, I'm sorry.
Shown photos that were introduced in the evidence and of the rain jacket. And I just want to publish two more that were introduced in evidence. 438. Doug, can you put 438 on the screen, please? I think you had it, now it's gone. There we go. Agent Fletcher, can you see that?
I can.
What's that?
This is a page out of my case file that I prepared for my technical reviewer and as part of my information to keep with me. It's a picture of the packaging, the paper bag that the rain jacket was included in, with the documentation on it, as well as the tag from the rain jacket labeling the brand of it, the size of it, and it also has our lab net information and the initials and date in which it was analyzed by the trace department.
Okay, the bottom of this, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a date of 10/8/2021. Is that when you took the photo?
No, sir, that's when I prepared the PowerPoint for inclusion in my case file.
I see.
No,
Okay. Go to
it's
the
not
next
on here either.
exhibit.
They didn't turn it on either.
39, please.
They have captions off. Nobody got captions on today.
And there you've labeled manufacturer's tags. You see that?
Yes, sir?
You tell the jury what size this rain jacket is?
It's a large.
Okay. And do you know this brand name? Kokatat?
Right here?
I had to look it up. I wasn't familiar with it prior to this case.
Job.
Thank you. Thank you, Doug. Can you take that down, please?
I don't think Twitch has captions.
1 second,
Twitch.
Your Honor, please.
Good morning, guys. Rise and shine. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for joining me. If you could hit the like button. Dr. Edward Moskowitz, thank you so much for the cachava. I'm going to go grab it here in a second so I can show you the package, but I love it. It tastes really, really, really good. Today's my second day drinking it. How often do you recommend? Once a day?
Good morning.
Mr. Griffin asked you about 38
Yeah.
particles on the parka,
Yeah.
poncho, rain jacket, the blue garment.
Yes, sir.
You asked about the 38 particles. That's what I'm responding to.
Yeah, we just can't hear you.
Oh. Okay, well, I'll talk louder. Sorry. Actually, how many particles were on the garment?
In total, there were 52 particles. There were 14 that I confirmed on the outside of the rain jacket, and there were 38 on the interior of the rain jacket.
Morning.
Confused myself yesterday. There were 13 particle lifts and 12 particle lifts, correct? And then out of that, you found the 52 particle characteristics of gunshot primer residue, correct?
That's correct.
And 38 of those were on the inside?
Yes, sir.
That's what he asked you about. 14 were on the outside.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And when you wear that garment, do you typically wear it inside's inside? Is that what it means?
I would think so.
Yeah. And
Uh-oh. They don't like that.
And he asked you, is it a possibility that a firearm had come in contact with the rain jacket, and you said it's possible, it's really possible, isn't it? I mean, those numbers are unusual, aren't they? 38.
For the interior of a garment, I would think that they were unusual, yes.
And that's common sense, isn't it?
Oh.
Well, they're just not,
What is it? I'm sorry. How do you describe that in your world, everyday living, and then you're examining it? How do you describe those particles inside of a garment that you're supposed to wear with the outside?
well, typically people wear their clothing right side out. And so if they're in the vicinity to the discharge of a shooting, that's where the particles are going to land.
On the outside?
Yes, sir.
Tracy, I haven't really noticed much yet. It's probably going to take some time. Usually when you start taking something, it's not going to be immediate, usually. So I don't know, today's day 2. I will definitely keep you guys posted, though. I love the taste. It tastes really good. Thank you, Sam Panther. All the males looking good. Let me go grab the chava.
And Mr. Griffin asked you about,
Chava.
I think, a hypothetical if his father's gun had laid on it and it was in a truck. Would the 38 particles inside of the rain jacket be consistent with a recently fired firearm being contained inside?
It could be, yes.
With a recently fired firearm being carried inside of that rain jacket?
Just inside the rain jacket, I don't know that it matters if you're carrying it.
Okay, right. You're very technical and precise. Okay. But if you were carrying it and you had a gun inside that rain jacket that had recently been fired, and you were taking it somewhere to hide it or transport it, would the 38 particles inside the rain jacket be consistent with transfer from a recently fired firearm?
That is a possibility, yes, sir.
And again, how did you describe those 38 particles in your world?
They're unusual because they're on the interior of a garment. And it,
Go ahead.
and it is a large number.
Unusual because they're on the interior of a garment, and an unusual number.
Well, a large number.
Object.
The last answer for the record was a large number.
Yes, sir.
Further examination.
They're coming back. You know they're coming back. They're
Very,
upset.
very briefly.
I'm upset.
Agent Fletcher, what I gather, there's just a whole lot of possibilities of what could have happened, right?
That's correct.
And the only thing you can tell us is what you saw under a microscope.
Yes, sir.
You can't tell the jury how it got there, right?
That's correct.
Or when it got there.
That's correct.
And, okay, and I forgot to ask one further question. A rimfire gun, does it produce gunshot primer residue?
Rimfire ammunition does produce gunshot primer residue. Some don't produce the traditional lead, barium, and antimony. Others do. It just depends on what type of ammunition is used.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
That smile she did too, she was like, you know, like that smile, somebody smiles at you, but they're not really smiling, like they don't like you. Just
Call your next witness.
she did.
Your Honor, the state calls it Meth Griswold.
Meth Griswold. Who that? So, yo, this is the Kachava. Thank you so much, Dr. Edward Moskowitz. Loving it. Good stuff. Great. Superfood straight out of the jungle. They went in the jungle and got this shit. All right, we got fiber. Get your poop on. We got, ooh, it even has MCT in there. MCTs, what is that? Mega chain. What is that? Main chain triglycerides or something? I don't remember what the medium chain triglycerides. Fiber, protein, essential vitamins.
My name is Annette Griswold, Griswold.
Who did?
Ms. Griswold, how you doing today?
I'm
Griswold.
doing okay, thank you.
Good. If you would, just tell the jury a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, and what you do for a living, please.
Okay. I grew up in Hampton, South Carolina, and lived there for the first 18 years of my life.
That's good. I like
from
it.
Wade Hampton High School. Went away for college at 18, ended up falling in love with the Charlotte, North Carolina area. Over the next 2 decades, I spent most of that time in Charlotte. That's where I got married.
Ooh.
And with the exception of a few years coming back to Hampton and a few years in Columbia for my husband to get his degree, that time was spent in Charlotte until 2012. My dad took ill and he wanted us to move closer to be near him, and my mom needed help taking care of him. So I moved home in 2012 after my father passed away. A few months after, I went back on the job search, and I'd been out of work for 2 months helping my mom. So I was looking for a job and ran into my friend's father, and he told me I should probably check the law firm. I found out that I had a school friend that worked there, so I reached out to her, sent her my resume, and she forwarded it to the right people. And 3 interviews later, I was working for the firm, and I worked as a paralegal and was hired to work for iCkEdMeL,
Which firm are we talking about?
what everybody refers to as PMPED.
Okay. And when did you start working there?
July of 2012.
And when you started working there, who were you working for?
iCkEdMeL.
And the entirety of the time that you were there up until the time that he was no longer a partner in that firm, is that who you worked for?
That's correct.
So how long was that?
That was a little over 9 years.
Were you the only staff member that he had that was assigned to him?
No, we have, there's 2 of us that worked for iCkEdMeL. I'd been with him, like I said, the 9 years, and then the other secretary was Christy Gerald, and she had been with him about almost double of what I'd been there.
Quickly describe for me sort of the division of labor between you and Christy Gerald, please.
I was hired to handle more of the larger cases that iCkEdMeL had, where it's litigation law, and so it's personal injury for the most part, workers' comp, medical malpractice, premises liability, product liability, wrongful death, trucking cases. And so he wanted me to take over those bigger cases and handle those, and then Christy did more of the day-to-day stuff and the smaller files. Still just as important, but just smaller files than the larger ones.
You had the more complex stuff,
I did.
the bigger cases?
Yes, sir.
Just quickly, how was the defendant as a boss and a lawyer? Just what were his typical work habits, and what was he like in the office?
extremely intelligent when it comes to the law. I respected and admired that in him greatly. He didn't keep normal hours. He liked to float in later in the late morning time or early afternoon. We always had a running joke. We never knew. We knew that he might not be there all day, but he would always show up right before 5 o'clock when we were ready to leave. So just, kept unset hours. Pretty, I sometimes referred to Alec as a Tasmanian devil, because when he walked in, no matter what you were doing, you were started spinning, because he was just coming through and shouting everybody's name and ready to get work done when he was walking in the
Often
door.
pills.
So it was kind of confusing.
Let me ask you just a little bit. The jury's heard some testimony about disbursement sheets and how they work. And can you just remind them very quickly how that works? Who prepares the disbursement sheets, and how does that go about taking place?
After I find out that a case is settled, I go ahead and start getting my disbursement sheet ready, where I can kind of go ahead and expect what the deductions are that are going to come out of it. The attorney's fees, the expenses. Anytime you have Medicare or any health insurance, there's typically a lien on that money, and we are required by law to pay it back. So I go ahead and start looking into all that, draft the sheet, and get everything on it that I know, that I'm aware of, and then it goes to Alec, and he makes any changes he needs to, and then he would sign. Once he signs off on it, I send it across to our accounts payable department, and they cut the checks.
Are you familiar with what is generally referred to as the boat case?
I am.
And that is the boat wreck that occurred around February of 2019?
Yes, sir.
Are you aware that the defendant was sued civilly in that particular case?
Yes, sir.
After the boat case happened, did you notice any change in the defendant's demeanor around the office and about his work habits?
I did. He was more distant. Even when he was in the office, he was absent. It was he's always been hard to sit still and get answers from, and to sign our documents and anything that we had put in his office to sign. But it got extremely worse after the boat accident. He was rarely there, and when he was, the door was closed, and it was almost impossible for us to reach him. He was always on his phone. He was always dealing with something bigger than what we had going on.
Yes, that makes sense.
As time moved on into the early part of 2021, did that even get worse?
It did. He would come in lots of times, and he was just not his normal self, or what his normal self used to be. It was just very tense, and I don't know how to describe it. It's just, you could tell that the boat crash was weighing heavy on him, and it was consuming his life almost, it seemed like, and he was just harder to reach. And there was a couple instances where I referred to him as having his ass on his shoulders, because that's how I felt. It was disrespectful of me to feel that way and to say that out loud, but that's how I felt, because he just wasn't himself with us anymore. He came in, and it was just like, yelled our names, and just didn't treat us the same way he did prior to the boat accident.
Was the defendant very protective about anyone going into his office?
He was. There was often times where he would come in on a Monday and say, "Who's been in my office?" And we'd be like, "I don't know, probably the cleaning ladies." We have no idea. He was, it was very cluttered, very unorganized, but he said he knew where his stuff was, that it was organized in his way.
Jury's heard a lot of testimony about this, and just in the interest of time, I'm going to ask it this way. Over the years, in various cases, did the defendant ask you to put disbursements to forge on various disbursement sheets so that settlement checks would be prepared from the trust account made out that way?
Yes, sir, he did. I can't remember when it started, but he told me, to put it on Forge, and me knowing Forge Consulting was a legitimate company, I would, on the disbursement sheet, I would put Forge Consulting, and he would say, "No, it's not Forge Consulting. If I wanted to be Forge Consulting, I would have told you Forge Consulting. I want it to be Forge." And I was like, "Well, I don't understand. Isn't the name of the company Forge Consulting?" And he told me that he described it to me. He said, think of it like Forge Consulting is the large company and Forge is a kind of under that umbrella of it. So he said Forge Consulting is the big name, and then you have all different things they do, including Forge, which is more like a savings account than a trust.
So he
Skeezer.
would actually get you to change it from Forge Consulting to just Forge.
Correct. Even when across the street at the accounts payable department, they would write the check out to Forge Consulting. Lots of times I would have to reach out to them and say, hey, you wrote this to Forge Consulting. He says it needs to be Forge. And so lots of times they would have to change that.
Ooh, she telling it all.
Those checks that he would have on disbursement sheets to get cut, made out to Forge, would he often talk to you about picking those up personally?
Yes, I would ask him if I could go ahead and mail it to Michael Gunn at Forge Consulting, because he was our contact. And he would say, no, you know what, I'm seeing Gunn this weekend. He's coming out to the farm, or we're going to meet halfway tonight and have dinner. He always said that he was going to hand deliver it. So I even got to where I would make file notes in my files, Alec took check to hand deliver, because I was so worried that he was going to lose these checks. Because he was, a little aloof sometimes, and, would leave keys in his vehicle, would misplace a few things. And so I was so worried that these checks were going to get lost, and then we would have to do a stop payment and reissue the check. So I started making notes where I would remember that I didn't mail it, that it was actually hand delivered.
Well, hand delivered, at least from who was telling you it was going to be
That's
hand
correct.
delivered.
Yes.
Who was saying that?
Alec was.
All right, when you're talking about the defendant or Alec Murdaugh, do you see him here in the courtroom today?
I do.
Can you point him out to the jury, please?
Yes, he's over in it looks like a navy blue jacket.
Oh, look.
Your Honor, can the record reflect she's identified the defendant? You mentioned he would say that, I'm going to see Gunn, I'm meeting him halfway, we're going hunting, things like that. Tell the jury again, who's Michael Gunn?
Michael Gunn he's our contact. He's the person we talk to when it comes to trust annuities with Forge Consulting.
And that's the real Forge, correct?
That's correct,
Not the fake Forge?
not the fake Forge.
Moving into the latter part of 2020, did you have any particular issue arise with a disbursement to Forge that caught your attention?
I did.
Tell me about that if you would, please.
I was currently working from home. I'd had surgery on Halloween of 2020, and I was working from home, hadn't come back yet. I was planned to come back to the office the following Monday, and on that day, I believe it was December 15th of 2020, I got a phone call from the accounts payable department. Nicole called me, and she's one of the ladies that cuts the checks and works for Jeannie Seckinger. And she told me that she had just got a disbursement sheet over, that Christy had sent over a disbursement sheet in one of my files. It made no sense. She didn't understand it. And I was confused too, because I was like, why didn't he contact me to do my disbursement? Because I'm kind of protective over my files. If I've worked that file the whole time, I want to finish that file. I want to work the whole process of it. And actually the disbursement part is my favorite part of the file, because I want to be able to have that, be there when that client gets their money and gets that closure that they deserve. So I thought it was very odd that Christy was drafting a disbursement in one of my files, and
This was the day you were off work.
that's correct. I was working from home, and I still could have been reached, but I wasn't until Nicole reached out to me and told me.
Keep going.
She told me, she sends it to me by email or text, I can't remember, and I reviewed it, and it didn't make sense to me either. There was a line on it that said the attorney fees were going, or amount of it was going to Forge, and I didn't understand how that was happening. And I'd never seen him send attorney fees to Forge before, and so I didn't know that that was even a possibility. And so I called the office, and Christy transferred me to Alec, and I spoke to him and asked him about it. And he said, why did Nicole call you? And I said, well, she doesn't know how to write these checks out, because it doesn't make sense to her. She hasn't ever seen a disbursement like this. And he said, I'll take care of it. And so he said, I'll call Nicole, I'll take care of it. And so I remember talking to Nicole later and say, so what did he say? What was the reason behind it? And she said, he said that they can structure their attorney fees, and that's what that check was for.
Did you have a subsequent discussion with the defendant about that?
I did, and he told me the same thing. He said it was something that they've been able to do forever. He just never took advantage of it before, and so now he decided that he was going to start structuring those attorney fees where it would make have interest drawn. And so it made sense, because why not? Why not, instead of having that money sit somewhere, put it somewhere where it's going to draw more money?
His explanation to you made sense
Yes, it did.
on its face.
Yes.
Do you remember the name of that case?
That was the Hirschberger case.
I'm going to show you. Stand by.
Good job.
I'll show you what's already been admitted to evidence of States 429 and see if you recognize this document.
Yes, I do. This is the disbursement that was in December of 2020 that I was talking about.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Put it up on the screen. At that point in time, we're in December of 2020, is that right?
That's correct.
After the defendant gave you that explanation that seemed valid to you on your face, did that matter just kind of go away at that point in time?
It did. It was kind of, always at the back of my mind, because I still felt like there should have been some kind of paper trail, but yeah, the explanation worked that he gave me, and so I was trying to just go along with it because I thought it was valid.
As we move on into January 2021, did another incident happen that came to your attention as it related to disbursements?
Yes, the end of January, it was a Friday afternoon. I left early that day to take my mom to the eye doctor, and kind of the same scenario of kind of an exact repeat of December happened again. Nicole from Accounts Payable called me, and I said, "What's going on?" And she said, "Well, I've got another one." And so Christy had drafted a disbursement in a case referred to as Moore, and she had sent it over, and once again it had the same wording and kind of confusion that the Hirschberger one had a month previous. So she didn't really understand it again. She was still trying to say, I feel like we need more information on this, and I said, I do too. And so kind of the same scenario as before, I reached out to Alec, he reached out to Nicole, and ultimately the checks got written. But it was the same scenario, as you can see on here. The $91,867.50 was attorney fees that were structured that went straight to Forge, to the fake, what we now know was the fake Forge.
All right. And is that still in the Hirschberger matter you're talking
That's
about?
the Hirschberger one, and on the Thomas More one,
We'll
it was.
get there in a second. But
Okay.
when you got that call, do you remember where you were the second call?
Yeah, the Thomas More, I was at the eye doctor with my mom.
All right, I'm still on Hirschberger. Do you remember where you were on that
Oh,
second?
I was home. I'd had surgery and I was home recovering.
And I'm going to show you this, and we're still in the same exhibit, that being 429. Do you recognize that at all? Let me hand this exhibit to you. Probably easier that way. Just take a flip through it, if you would, please.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is what we refer to now as the second Hirschberger disbursement. It was on the UIM portion of the case and liability portion. So once again, the PMP attorney's fees were routed to Forge in the amount of $83,333.33.
All right, thank you. All right, you had started to talk about Thomas More. Is that another incident that came to your attention as we're moving into early 2021?
Yes, sir. That one, like I said, was at the end of January. Once again, I was out of the office. I was at an eye doctor with my appointment with my mom. Got the call from Nicole. She said it's the same scenario. But this time it was all the funds that was in client's trust, which was $125,000, I believe, and all those funds were being routed. That was attorney fees and client money that was being routed to the fake forge.
And this was another one of your cases, is that right?
It was. So another situation where I'm out of the office. It's almost 5 o'clock in the afternoon on a Friday. Christy drafts the disbursement. Alex signs it. They send it over in my absence.
When these instances are happening that you're describing to the jury, where you happen to be out of the office, and these are your cases, right?
That's correct.
And all of a sudden you're getting communications that the defendant is having Christie draft some disbursements. In any of these cases, was there anything going on that something happened and had to be done that very day that you just happened to be out of the office?
I didn't think so because, in particular, the Thomas More case, we were working on the third party portion of the case, but there was also a workers' comp portion that another attorney was working on. And when you're working on a workers' comp case, if you settle the third party first, you can't disperse it until the workers' comp portion is taken care of, because workers' comp always has a huge lien that you have to negotiate for the client. So the money was supposed to sit there. It was my understanding it would probably be sitting there another year until the workers' comp portion of the case was settled. So those funds didn't need to go anywhere. So it was very odd that all of a sudden they're all sent to Forge because they were supposed to remain in the account, was my understanding.
Do you take pride in the work that you do on these complex cases?
I do.
Do you know your cases very well?
I'd say I do.
And was there any reason of which you were aware that things had to be happening the day that they were?
I did. No, it definitely put up another yellow flag, and it made me think about the previous one that happened in Hirschberger in December, because both of them were kind of the same scenarios. Me out of the office, someone else drafting it, and not that we can't work in each other's files. We can, but it's easy to miss something if it's not your file. If I had to go in somebody else's file and draft a disbursement, I may not know that there's a lien or a certain promised medical bill or anything else that needs to be paid. So that's why, to me, it's easier if somebody that's worked the case actually drafts the disbursement, because they know all the deductions that have to come out.
Was the defendant using the opportunity of you being out of the office to push these things through?
Yes, in hindsight, it was easy to see that the chaos, the sending it over at 10 minutes before 5 p.m. was kind of a way of part of that little hurricane, a little tornado portion. Just sending it over when most people are gone, and it's just going to get done quickly and no questions asked.
You said that the Thomas More line was particularly unusual because it was workers' comp and those funds couldn't be dispersed yet, correct? To your understanding?
Yes, sir.
Did you ever have a conversation with the defendant about why these funds were dispersed?
I did, and he explained to me that he had gotten permission that since the money was going to be sitting there another year, that they were going to send it to Forge and let it draw interest, and then that would be money that would draw interest on for the client as well as the firm, because it was both portions of the money.
I'm going to show you what's already been admitted into evidence. It states 328. See if you recognize this document.
Yes, this is the Thomas More disbursement that I'm referring to, that where the entire client trust amount of $125,000.
Do you recognize the signature down at the bottom of the page?
I do. Alex signed it where it says R. Alexander Murdaugh, and then where the client's signature is, that is not the client's signature. It's Alex's handwriting.
You recognize this handwriting from working for him for 9 years?
I do.
Did the defendant have a case going on around this time involving Mack trucks?
He did, what we refer to as the Ferris case. We actually went to Columbia and had a bench trial in that case in January of '21.
And did you work on that case to some extent?
I did,
Was that one of the ones assigned to you?
yes.
Was the defendant the only lawyer on that case, or were there other lawyers?
No, there was 2 co-counsels that had brought us in. Wayne Ridgway was the first attorney that received that case. He reached out to Chris Wilson's office, and Chris joined the case as well, and then Chris reached out to our firm, and so now there's a 3rd attorney, which was Alec, involved in it.
Ultimately, was that case tried before a judge?
It was bench trial, like I said, in January of 2021.
And did the judge issue a verdict in favor of the firm's clients?
Did, yes, sir. And the next month, I think sometime in February, we got a very nice verdict for the clients.
Who was going to be dispersing the fees in that once the money came in? Was that going to be PMPED, or was it going to be the other attorney's
Chris
firm?
Wilson's office.
Had the firm PMPED, had it accrued costs in the course of that litigation?
Yes,
Expenses?
yes,
And did you prepare those and send those to Chris Wilson's office, or how did that work?
I did. I put the totals in an email and sent them to, Alec wanted me to send him the totals by email, and so that's what I did. And then I guess he sent them to Chris after that.
All right. And then after that happened, do you remember what month the money came in, roughly?
In May,
Well, let me slow you down. Once you've done that, when the money comes in, you said Chris Wilson's office is going to be handling that disbursement, correct?
correct.
What are you expecting to happen next?
I'm expecting copies of the settlement paperwork, copies of the disbursement sheets signed by the client, and I'm expecting 2 fee checks and 2 expense reimbursement checks, because there's 2 cases. It was a case for the deceased and a case for his wife. So I'm expecting 4 checks total.
All right. And you're about to say, and I cut you off, you said something happened in May. Did something happen related to the Ferris case in May?
Yes, I received by mail the settlement package from Chris Wilson's office, but all it contained was a cover letter and the 2 expense reimbursement checks. So I emailed Vicki Lyman, which is Chris Wilson's secretary, and said something like, hey girl, I got these expense checks in, when can I expect the attorney fee checks? And she replied to my email telling me that, excuse me, hey friend, the attorney's got that money at disbursement. And I was really shocked because I didn't even know when the disbursement took place. I was never supplied copies of it or anything.
What's your thought when Vicki says that? What did you think may have happened?
Well, I called her and I said, you already gave the checks. I was like, I don't think we've received them. And she was like, yeah, they were done at disbursement in March. And so I asked her first to send me over copies of the disbursement sheets and where I could look at those. And then I reached out across to our accounts payable just to make sure that checks somehow bypassed me and went straight to into the client trust, to their department. And they told me no, that they didn't have any such checks on the books either. And I was like, okay. So I assumed that they gave Alec the checks and he's lost them. They're misplaced. They're somewhere in his truck. They're somewhere in a file folder stuck and just kind of hid away and he's forgotten to give them to me.
Did you say that to Vicki? Like, come on, why'd you give them to my boss?
Why? I said, why would you do that? I was like, why would you give checks to the attorney? Why wouldn't you send them straight to me where I can get them deposited?
I'm going to put States 312 that's already in evidence, and this is the page marked Bait Stamp 2371 for the record up on the screen. Can you see that on your little screen? Do I need to bring that in?
I can see it.
And can you tell the jury what that is?
That is the email I was talking about where I told her I just got the expenses, but where's the fee? And she says, it's because your boss and mine and Liz's got their fees once they were signed, duh.
Oh.
Did you have a conversation with Alec at this point, or what did you do next?
I did.
So you called the finance in your own firm and said, hey, did we get this check? And they
Correct.
said no.
They said no. And so I verified that, and then I asked Vicky, I said, "Are you positive?" And she said, "Yes." And I was like, "Okay, I'll go see if he remembers where they're at." So he happened to be in the office by that time. His door was closed. I went in, he was on the phone, and I kind of kept checking and going back. Eventually, I got to speak to him, and he was still kind of on the phone, but he was like, "No, I didn't get those checks." And I was like, "Are you sure?" And he said, "Yeah." And I was kind of back and forth, and I'm like, "He said he didn't get them. Are you sure?" And this kind of went back and forth for a few minutes, and over the course of the rest of the day. And I said, "Hey, he just told me that Chris was still holding those funds in trust." I was like, "I don't understand, you say that they've been cut." I was like, "Can you send me copies of stuff? Because I don't see anything." And he's telling me their funds are in trust. And she was like, "Annette, I know for a fact that the checks are cut. There is no money in trust. And the reason I know that is because when the checks were written to Alec, I knew it was a bit odd because they were written to Richard, they were written out to him personally instead of the firm." And I said,
Stop you there. They were written out to him personally instead of the firm.
Correct.
Why did that stick out in her mind? Why did that stick out in your mind?
Because common sense tells me that the attorney fees belong to the firm, where the firm, I don't know, I didn't understand the complete breakdown until Jeannie went over it in her testimony, but I knew by common sense that the funds belong to the firm, and then once they do whatever percentages and everything they need to do, then the attorney gets his portion later. So I knew it wasn't right, that it shouldn't have never gone to an individual attorney, it should go to the firm as a whole.
When you asked the defendant, said, "Hey, Vicky says you already got those," and he tells you what?
He told me that Chris was holding that money in trust, that it had not been dispersed yet.
Did he tell you Vicky's wrong?
Yeah, he told me Vicky's wrong. I don't care what she's telling you, she's wrong.
What was his demeanor when you were inquiring,
Just
challenging
kind of
him?
like, just shooing me out of his office, like, I don't have time for this.
After Vicky tells you that it was odd because the checks had been made out to the defendant personally instead of the law firm, what did you do next?
I asked her, I said, "Are you sure?" And she said, "Yes." And she said, "Yeah, it was written out to him." Well, first I was like, "I'm sorry, what did you say?" And I made her repeat it to make sure I heard correctly. And she was like, and then kind of while she was saying it out loud, I think it kind of registered to her, "Oh, wait, that probably wasn't the right thing to do," because she kind of hushed after that and didn't want to talk and kind of wanted to get off the phone with me. And so I still kind of tried to question Alec over the next couple days and tried to get a reasonable explanation of what was going on, because in my mind, I'm still hoping he just lost the checks and this was all just a misunderstanding. But at the back of my mind, there's this huge red flag telling me this is not right. What is going on?
Did you eventually take this issue to anyone else since you couldn't get an answer about it?
Yes, I eventually, I don't know the exact date, but I eventually emailed Jeannie Seckinger and asked her if she was in the office because I really needed to speak to her. And she said she would be back later that day. And so I went into her office and I had everything printed out and kind of showed her and told her my concerns. And she was instantly on on high alert as well, because it didn't look good. We were still both hoping that it was a misunderstanding, just this one-off, something silly that happened, but we both had that nagging feeling of, this is not good. Something is definitely wrong.
Did Jeannie instruct you to do anything?
She did not. She said that she would talk to him about it, and she kept the paperwork that I gave her.
Were you ever asked to send another email to Vicky asking for particular documents?
Yeah, actually, it was kind of my idea. I kind of told Jeannie, I was like, "Hey, why don't we do this? Why don't you send me an email telling me what we need, and then I'll forward that email from myself, and to see if we can get copies of everything where we can figure all this out and eliminate it. Because at this point, we want to prove that suspicion we had was wrong, and that everything's really okay." So she did. She forwarded me an email, and
I'm still on States 312. What's been bait stamped is 2374. And is this the email that you just described that Jeannie forwarded to you requesting the documentation for the Ferris fees?
It is, underneath where, yeah, Jeannie texts there or emails there and tells me exactly what she needs and kind of is very specific.
At what time, what date was that, I'm sorry?
That was May 27th at 11:40 a.m.
All right, and then going over to 2373 in the same exhibit, is this the email right here that you then forwarded to Vicki Lyman at Chris Wilson's office?
Yes, it was, I forwarded that email that Jeannie sent me on the same day, May 27th. And I knew she was on vacation, but I went ahead and sent this to her. And then when I knew she had time to get back from vacation, I sent this follow-up on the strand on June 2nd and requesting it again.
All right. And did you get a response email from Vicki Lyman in Chris Wilson's office?
Yeah, she said she didn't, this doesn't involve her, and she said she would forward it to Chris. And we were basically just asking for copies of everything where we could clear this matter up and, like I said, we wanted our suspicion to be wrong.
All right. Apparently this cachava, I didn't realize I was only taking 1 scoop and you're supposed to take 2 scoops. No wonder I wasn't feeling full off of this. And it's apparently 240 calories per serving. My friend texted me, Anne-Marie, warning me about, be careful. But I only took 1 scoop, so that's why, because I was still hungry, because I went and worked out this morning. I did 1 scoop of this and some collagen. And I love it, though. It's really good, but she warned me just be careful because the serving size
Say what's been marked
almost
as
300 calories if you take 2 scoops. It's supposed to be like a meal.
Exhibit 440 to your testimony. And again, just tell me, first of all, just if, without going into any content, whether or not you
Heather, thank
recognize
you.
that particular document.
I do. It's a text strand between
Noob,
myself and Vicki Lyman.
I didn't even check the serving
Is
size.
this, what is the date on that particular text strand?
June 2nd, and then it runs into June 3rd.
And is that 2021?
Yes, I'm sorry, 2021.
And is this a text thread where y'all are discussing the things that you've described here today?
Yeah, I told her I just, don't mention anything.
Hold on, just real quick.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Y'all are describing what we're talking about here today?
That is correct.
All right, Your Honor, at this time, I would move Stage 440 into evidence.
Your Honor, object on hearsay grounds. It doesn't fall within an exception to the hearsay rule.
See the document.
This vanilla.
Sustain the objection.
Thank you for the stars, Bonnie, on Facebook. Bianca, I'll get you after.
Vicki, on that particular day?
I did. I told her that I gave her time to get back from vacation, and I just basically texted her with my concerns and told her how stressed out I had been over this situation and how I was hoping my suspicion was wrong, but I was really stressed out. And unfortunately, my daughter, me and Vicki had talked on the phone. Vicki had called me as well, and unfortunately, my daughter had overheard me too, so she instantly got really worried for me. And my daughter said, Mom, you need to go ahead and get your resume because once you turn all this in, they may fire you. So she was very concerned for me.
And this latest email on the screen, that was June 2nd, 2021, is that
That's
correct?
correct.
You recall June 7th, 2021.
I do.
Was that a Monday?
It was.
Were you at work that day?
I was.
Did the defendant come to work that day?
He did. He came in probably around lunchtime. I can't remember if he came in before lunch or after, but somewhere in that time frame.
Did you see Jeannie Seconder that day?
I did. Jeannie had already told me that she was going to talk to Alec about the Ferris fee checks that were missing. She was going to go and talk to him about them that day, and so she asked me to let her know when he got into the office. So when he got to the office, I reached out to her to let her know.
And did she come up to your area?
She did, and we have open style offices, no doors on the secretary's offices. So she had to pass by me to get Alec's office. So I saw her when she was walking past.
Did she give you any look when she walked past?
She did. It was kind of just like that, just kind of a raised eyebrow, like wish me luck, here goes nothing kind of look. Like, I hope, because we were both just, like I said, wanting to get answers and
Get answers about what?
about those missing checks and figure out what was going on.
Where did she go after she gave you that look?
I heard Alec's doors closed, so I assumed in his office to talk to him.
This is what day?
This is June 7th, 2021.
Did she come out after?
She did, and she didn't stop. She just hurried by my desk and she went on about her business.
Did you have any conversation yourself about the Ferris fees with the defendant that day?
I don't recall having any discussion with him on that day. At that point, I'd turned, Jeannie had everything, and it was kind of in her hands.
What time do you think you left work that day?
I left at 5:15 that day.
Is that your normal time?
It's not. I typically work later. Alec always tend to work nights, and me and Christy tend to kind of adapt to his schedule a little bit and work a little later than 5 o'clock. Most of the time, we were there till 5:30, 6 o'clock.
When you left the office on June 7th, 2021 at 5:15, was the defendant still there?
He was.
Ooh.
Did you go home? Eventually went home?
Yes.
Just a normal night?
Yeah, I went straight home that night.
Did that change at some point?
Yes, it definitely. My phone was on silence, and I slept through a bunch of text messages and calls. I woke up in the middle of the night, and my phone was just full, and I was like, what is going on? And so I'm looking through the text messages. They don't make a lot of sense. I see I have a voicemail message from Randy Murdaugh. And so I checked the voicemail, and I could tell he was upset and crying, and he said, Annette, please call me when you can. It doesn't matter what time. And so I don't remember what time it was, but it was sometime in the middle of the night, and I called him. And he told me, well, when he answered the phone, he was upset, obviously, and I said, Randy, what's wrong? And he said, it's bad, Annette, it's real bad. And I said, oh no, Mr. Randolph passed? And he said, no, it's not Dad, it's Maggie and Paul. And I said, what? And he said, they've been shot and murdered. And I said, what? And it was very overwhelming. We both cried on the phone with each other, and obviously the first thing I did was say, oh my God, how is Alec? How is he? Is he okay? Where's Buster? Is Buster okay? I was very concerned. I had a million thoughts running in my head. I was like, are you guys safe? Is this something aimed at the entire family? And I was very, very worried about Alec and Buster and Randy and his family and the entire Murdaugh family. So it was very overwhelming.
Over the 9 years of working closely for the defendant, did you also get to know his family, Maggie and Paul and Buster?
I did.
Is this firm pretty tight-knit?
Yes.
What was the reaction of the people in the firm to this terrible news?
There was two reactions. First was scared. We were like, please lock our doors. We're scared. Who is this aimed at? Is it a client retaliating? Is it, aimed at Alec? Is it aimed at the firm? We didn't know. We just had so many questions, no answers, a million thoughts running through our heads. We were just there, supporting each other and helping one another through this grieving process, and at the same time, we were very protective over Alec and Randy. We wouldn't let them leave the office if strange cars were driving around. We would say, don't walk out yet. There's a white car that's went around 3 times. I mean, we were in complete mama bear mode. We didn't want them to go out and have to talk to reporters. We didn't want them to have to run out and run into anybody, and we were scared for them. We were very protective. I mean, anything suspicious out the window, we were on high alert.
Said, what kind of mode?
Mama bear mode,
Mama bear protecting who?
protecting Alec and Randy.
Did the law firm community rally to the aid of the defendant?
They did.
Was that the primary focus on everybody's mind in
Oh,
the aftermath?
absolutely.
Were you at all concerned about finding out what happened to these Ferris fees after that happened?
What Ferris fees?
Oh, shit.
Yeah, what Ferris fees?
Oh, shit.
And that was the furthest thing on my mind.
No, but yeah. So they're trying to pull it
Fact.
to the motive.
Was that
That's
the last
why.
time you really thought about it in any aspect until September of 2021?
It is, yes, sir.
And you were more focused on helping this defendant and his family in the aftermath of this tragedy that had happened.
Yes. And everybody was so supportive. I mean, some of the associate attorneys stepped up, and they came up to me and Christy and said, hey, if you need anything over the next few weeks, you need us to review a file for you, get something else, sign it, and get it out the door, we're here for you guys 100%. So it wasn't, we were supportive, and then we had other folks in the office that were coming up to us, supporting us as well, because they knew we were at a standstill. What do we do? Because we knew obviously he was not going to be the same and not be himself for quite a while.
I asked you earlier about the boat case. Before the murders, when the boat case happened, had there been some reaction and backlash in the community against the defendant and his family after the boat case?
Yes, it was very difficult because Hampton being a small town, we all know each other, and we all know both sides for the most part. For instance, Mallory Beach, her father is my first cousin. So Mallory Beach, I was kind of felt like I was in between a rock and a hard place because, her family is, beyond heartbroken over the loss of her. And I know some of them didn't like the idea that I was still working at the firm, but I was still, to me, it was 2 separate entities. This is my job, this was my family, and I had to keep them separate. I didn't want any part of the boat wreck case. I didn't want to know any details or anything because, like I said, I was keeping my family life and my work life separate.
After the murders, you said the law firm community, though, rallied to Alec's aid, correct?
Absolutely, everybody.
Did the larger community do as well
Yes, they did.
after the murders?
Yes, sir.
You mentioned that after those murders happened, what Ferris fees? They were the farthest thing from your mind, correct?
Yes, sir.
When did they come back to your attention?
September 2nd, it was a Thursday in the afternoon, and I was looking for a file in the file cabinet, and I was unable to locate it. And lots of times if, Alec's talking to a client on the phone, he'll yell for a file, and we'll take it to him. So I was like, oh, it's probably in his office. So I went to his office to look for the file, and when I found it, I picked it up, and when I did, a check kind of floated like a feather to the ground. And when I bent over to pick it up, I saw the check and what it said and had on it, and I instantly became very upset because it happened to be one of the checks from the Ferris case that didn't exist.
And what did you see on the check that let you know that stuck out in your mind?
It was from Chris Wilson's office. It was written to Richard Alexander Murdaugh, and at the bottom it said Ferris fees. And it was dated March.
And so what did you realize at that
I
point?
I said, he's been lying this whole time. He had these funds, he lied to me. Oh, that feeling in the back of my mind was correct. Unfortunately, he did take these funds. Because when I flipped the check over, I also saw that he had deposited by mobile deposit, and I can't remember if he signed the back of the check or if it just said mobile deposit only.
Let me show you stage 313, see if you
Liar
recognize
and
that.
a
It's
skeezer.
already in evidence.
Yes, sir, that's the check that I found on September 2nd.
Right, and if you flick up one side, or the other side.
Yeah, it's got his signature, Bank of
Skis.
America deposit only.
You recognize that writing as the defendant's?
Yes, it is.
Be snitching. She telling it all. I wonder what's gonna happen with the defense. She's snitching.
When that check fluttered down, you picked it up?
I
You
did.
saw that? Where did you take it? Did you take it anywhere?
Yeah, I went back to my desk, and you can imagine all the emotions that I was feeling at this point. You know, I was hurt, I was angry. I just was beside myself, and I was a bit enraged too, because I asked him so many times. There were so many times that I felt like we could have clarified this and got it taken care of, but here it is from March to September, and I find this check that supposedly did not exist. And so I went to my desk, I called Jeannie, and I was like, I just found something. And she said, oh, shit, what did you find? And I said, are you busy? And she said, come on over. And I went over and closed her door and threw the check at her, and she was like, is this one? I said, yeah, that's one of the fairest checks that doesn't exist.
Was Jeannie doing anything else or start doing anything else when you came down with that check?
I didn't know it until I took her the check, but when I took her the check, she was like, yeah, I just ran a report yesterday, and she said, one of the attorneys is gonna call Michael Gunn later today, and I said, well, what do you mean? And that's when she told me that she thinks there's some more stuff too. Back to my suspicion with Hirschberger and Thomas More, she pulled a report and she found out that we may have other issues of stolen funds. But I was not aware of any of that. I didn't know that she was looking into it again. I didn't know any of that until I took her the check, and she said she had just started doing stuff within the last few days.
Ooh.
Within a few days of this happening, what happened to the defendant's employment at the law firm?
He was fired the next day.
And did the law firm engage in a review process to determine the extent of any alleged?
Yes, we've had months upon months of going through all of the files and finding, just following the numbers and making notes on everything, and lots of hours, lots of manpower involved in this process of putting everything together, and just in awe of how much was happening, and we had no idea about it.
And without going through all the exhibits that were gone through with Jeannie Seckinger, but she was the one, or one of the central ones in doing that review, is that correct?
Of course, yes.
And without going through each one, is a lot of those disbursements for the fake Forge account, those were disbursements that the defendant told you to put on there?
That's correct.
Are those, a lot of those disbursements, one where he corrected you and said, no, don't put Forge Consulting, put Forge?
Yes, they were.
A lot of those checks, ones where he said, oh, I'm gonna see Michael Gunn later, I'll take the check myself.
Yeah, they were all for him.
Ooh. One of them oxys. Gold-plated oxys. Huh. Boy, look concerned. Oh. Oh. What they bringing in? Another disbursement?
I'll show you what's been marked as Exhibit 441. Again, without going into the contents, tell me if you recognize that document.
Yes, this text message that Alex sent to me and Christy on September 26th, when he was, in 2021, when he was in rehab, is my understanding.
All right. Your Honor, this time I'd offer States 441 into evidence, I believe without objection.
No objection.
Submitted without objection.
Your Honor, I apologize. We do have the 403 objection and subject to the court's prior ruling on this.
I haven't seen the exhibit, I don't.
Yes, sir.
Too late. Let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll have you go to the jury room for a break. Please do not discuss the
All right,
case.
break time. Take a little break. Break time. Okay. All right, so let me get the super chats real quick. Good morning. Trying to shake it up, trying to wake up a little bit. Bianca, thank you so much for the 6-month membership. Good morning, Sunshines. Like and sub. Thanks, Mel. Thank you so much, Bianca. Thank you for the membership. Bonnie, thank you for the stars. Dr. Edward Moskowitz, do you like it, Mel? The kajava? You can add non-sugar syrup or sugar to change the flavor. It takes some time to work. You will sleep better in 2 weeks. So I like it a lot. Like I was saying, it's really good. Thank you so much for sending me this. I didn't realize I was supposed to take 2 scoops, though. 2 scoops. So maybe tomorrow, with the mindset of replacing a meal, maybe I'll try 2 scoops. But it tastes really good. I like
Yes,
it.
sir, Mr. Griffin.
Just preserving our prior objections on 404B evidence under 404B and 403. And this, it's nothing new. I just forgot to state no additional objections than what we've already had in this line of testimony, which is this is the same line of testimony of financial misconduct. That's all.
Mr. Waters.
And I just clarified, I think, with defense counsel that he was not adding a specific 403 objection to that. It's just the prior objection. However, this is a text from the defendant to this witness in this particular instance. Certainly, it can be read, and there's no hearsay issue because obviously it's a statement of a party opponent, and it certainly also is relevant because it can certainly be read in the nature of an admission to the various things that are at issue in these particular proceedings. And for that reason, there's certainly the probative value of an admission is certainly, I would argue, is the probative value of that is not substantially outweighed by the danger of any unfair prejudice.
It introduces another issue, the issue of drug use, and I think the witness testified that he was in rehab. Is that what you said? That he was in rehab and sent an email, and just want to be clear from the defense, the part of it, of the testimony that establishes through this witness that he was in rehab, that is not a basis for your objection.
We do have, yes, we do object to evidence of his drug use and to be included in this, and we would ask that that document be redacted to the extent it references rehab at this time.
It doesn't specifically mention drug use. So, have you all review the exhibit and tell me if you have no objection based on the fact that he sent it while in rehab, then it's admissible as far as your prior bad acts objection.
Da, da, Okay. Hold on one sec. Sorry. Hello? Hi.
We don't have any additional objections, Your Honor. We would, because this does raise an additional character issue, asked that the court, we ask that the court give, additional limiting instruction at some point in time about that.
How does the character in that he saying he's getting better, or what part addresses character?
Certainly he says, I'm getting better every day, and I mean, it's clear from that he's in rehab. I mean, that's all.
All right, Mr. Waters?
Your Honor, I mean, he doesn't expressly say that. I would point out that the issue of pills has already come up a few times in this trial. I'm not trying to go there, but it is, when we talk about 404 and res geste, it is kind of part and parcel of a lot of things. I mean, even the defense is examined, I believe, Ms. Seconder on the issue of pills. And on top of that, we had Chris Wilson, who testified in camera, who will also testify here today. One of the things he says when he had that confrontation with the defendant on the the afternoon, I believe, of September 4th, that the defendant said, yeah, I've been stealing money and I've been hooked on pills for a while. So this is a bridge I think we have to cross at some point. The state is not trying to gild the lily with that, but at least with these various witnesses, it is part of what they're being said. As far as that specific exhibit, though, Your Honor, there's no express reference to drugs or anything like that, and it certainly is in the nature of admission. And again, I think for that reason, it's very probative and very relevant and admissible for that reason.
Well, my concern obviously is that we do not, or that I do not allow testimony involving these admissions to bleed so far into the character 403 that it has the effect of undoing the 404, 403 analysis. A lot of testimony has come in unobjected to that touches upon the defendant's character. That's why I want to be clear on what the objection is.
Your Honor, just from the state's perspective, we are trying to, walk that line. I mean, there's a lot of the financial stuff we're not even seeking to admit. I think that we've limited it to things that had that connection that we discussed in camera. So, I'm not trying to gild the lily.
I'm not sure what that means.
That's a phrase I learned from Chief Justice Toll over the years. I guess that means piling on, I guess, is a way to do that. And again, I don't have, we recognize the situation we're in and trying obviously not to get out over our skis from what the admissibility of that the court has already ruled on.
All right. I'll ponder it while we take our break, and we'll be in recess for about 15 minutes. Ma'am, you may step down. Do not discuss your testimony.
Okay, I'm back. Back streets back. So, all right, sorry about that. I was with the apartment stuff. More, I gotta send some more paper stuff over. I'm gonna do that when they start again. Okay, so, Heather, thank you so much for the super chat. Good morning, Mel Maz, and at the beautiful people in the chat. Hope everyone is doing well. Heather, thank you so much for the super chat. Appreciate that. And oh, my screen is. Oh, there we go. Let's see. Diggs, thank you for the bits on Twitch. Voodoo Sue, thank you for becoming a member. Appreciate that. Voodoo Sue. Play for you. Thank you for the membership. Thank you. Risa B, 7 months member. Thank you so much for the support. 7 months in. Another great morning with Mel and gang. Thank you so much. Gabby, thank you for becoming a member. Juana, thank you for becoming a member. Keith Dick, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate that. Candy Cane, thank you for becoming a member. Candy Cane. Wasn't that thing, say Candy Cane 5 times? Candy Cane. Don't do it again, no! Or is it something else? Or is it Candy Cane? Or who's the thing? Don't say Candy or B. Wait. Don't say Candy Cane or Candyman? Oh, Candyman. Candyman. No. Rachel, thank you so much for the membership. Appreciate that. And yeah, so I might be a little, I was thinking that neighborhood, we need a Scarface smell. I was literally looking up because somebody earlier had said that Alex is going to need a little pick-me-up, a little snort of the pill. And I was thinking of Scarface. That's one of my favorite movies. I've watched that movie so many times. Love that movie. I had an ex that one time she got me the VHS cassettes. It was 2 cassettes. That movie's so long. And she got me like a poster. I don't know where it's at anymore. It's trash somewhere, but it was a nice thought back then. VHS. I should have said intermission at the end. You had to like pop out the tape and put in the other tape. Scarface. So I'm excited, man, about the apartment stuff. I'm going to be kind of like, I have time. It's not a rush. It's for the first. I do have to send in some more paperwork today. And I'm going to do that right now in a little bit. Once they come back from break, I got to send some more stuff. Boop, boop, boop. iCkEdMeL. You okay, Mel? Yes, I'm fine. Are you okay? Joyride. Yo, that was such a good movie. Oh my God. Isn't that the trucker thing? What, is that the trucker? Or no? Am I thinking of Joyride? Joyride. Isn't there one where... Oh, yes. Yes, this is it right here. Thriller mystery. The truck. Yeah. 1, 2. X is coming for you. 3, 4. Better lock your door. 5, 6. 7, 6. 7, 8. Scarface died of what? Trivia question. Well, his ass got blasted. He was doing all that coca. He was still going after they shot him. Paul Walker, yeah, he was the actor in that movie. He died in a car accident, I think, right? A rusty nail. Yeah, if you guys could hit the like button, I'd appreciate that, man. Thank you guys for joining me this morning. Still early. I mean, how much longer? Hey, Flossie. BL, me, you, Diggs. Vic. Hey, you. How long is this trial going to go on for, man? If this thing is over next week, I'll be happy. Do you think it's possible to do? Okay, how about we give it 2 weeks? 2 more weeks. If it's done in 2 weeks, I'll be glad. Then I can focus on moving. If it's done in 2 weeks, I'll be glad. You guys can hear that. Yeah, I'm gonna the Amazon wish list. I think I'm gonna have a friend that's really good with that stuff. I might have her tell like, yo, put it. Can you do a list? Because if it was me, it's gonna be a mess. There's gonna be all kinds of different colors, things that don't even match or make sense. I don't know what I'm doing for a house thing, but I have a friend that she's really good with that stuff. I might ask her to put something that makes sense together. And Maddie, she's already started picking out different things. She wants like a little desk, and she wants a computer too. She already telling me like a gang of shit that she wants. I'm like, damn, slow down. Yes, Daddy, I want that one. You sure there's a cheaper one? No, I want that one. If they stick to their witness list, I think 3 weeks. And BL, are you saying 3 more weeks? Or are you saying 3 weeks total? Please say you're saying 3 weeks total. 3 to 4 more weeks. 5 weeks. XXX Tentacion. I was thinking during the lunch break I could play maybe the opening statements if I can find it. Opening statements. Who's streaming the trial? I know Law and Crime streaming it. I don't know what else. Opening statements. Maybe we can play Law and Crimes. I don't know. I think they're the only ones I see streaming it, actually. And it actually doesn't have that much of a viewership. I'm surprised. I would have thought maybe that trial would have a lot of people watching. Apparently it doesn't. Oh. Murdaugh. 3 weeks total. Thank you, BL. I hope you're right. But if you're saying 3 weeks total though, we're already. Mira donde estamos. Estamos hoy es día how do you say 13? Tercero. 12. 13. Día 13. ¿Verdad? We're already almost 2 weeks in, so you're saying you think there's only 1 more week left? It could be. It could be wrapping up. If this shit is done in the next week, the week after, I'll be so happy. And then maybe I'll take a little mini break and just focus on getting the hell out of here. Running. I don't trust none of these networks, though. Go TV, Law and Crime. Yeah, use it. Yeah, go ahead. I don't trust them. I don't trust them. They're trying to blame Drake for XXX. I heard. Brandy says, I don't think he will be found guilty. You know, the more and more I watch the trial, you know, I think he had something to do with it, whether directly or indirectly. Has something to do with it. But is it enough in trial beyond a reasonable doubt? That's the problem right there. Beyond a reasonable doubt. I don't know if they have enough, man. Like, I think there's a lot. Oh, so let me see. Did you fix the merch? No. Mo. I don't know. We're still. There's a. Let's see. Ooh. Check this shit out. Well, I prefer if she. Hold on. Let me wait on that before I show it. I don't see it unless my cookies are just not updating. The mug. Hands up. Oh, view all. Never mind. Okay, I see view all. There we go. That's really nice, though. I like this shit. Buster. Hi, Buster. Ay, ay, ay. All right, so let me show you guys this one. Let's see. I was trying to wait, but oh, bro, when you see this shit, so this cup, y'all, I know y'all. So this is the dope. I like this cup a lot here. This is the old shit right here. This one might be adjusted by like 20 or 50 cents. I don't know, between 20 something cents and 50 cents. They're waiting to fix it, but like because everything's backed up in the queue, it's taking a minute to update. But this is the Judge Cup. I like it. I like it a lot. So this one has the judge with the stenographer. Oh, yeah. You can get whatever. It comes in different colors. I think I might. I don't know what I'm gonna order first. I might get the cup first. Maybe. I have a lot of mugs already though. I don't know if I want to get the tumbler. I don't have any tumblers. I don't think I have a tumbler. Murdaugh trial. Oh, excuse me. The bikini thing. So I was talking to people this morning about this. I think the back is really. I think the girls will like the back. Lick me. I don't know about the front though. I don't know if the picture should be there or not. I don't know if that's too much. But we also got the bloop bloop. I saw some people were commenting about that. They like this. I have like this weird pain in my. I don't know what's from like push-ups. Something right here hurts. Am I dying? Am I getting old? Something hurts. We got the bloop bloop. Oh, this is the wine tumbler thing. This is Johnny Depp stuff though. Were you there? I feel like we need to clip that. I don't know if they let you add videos, because if they let you add videos to the webpage, it would be funny to clip. I know I have that clipped somewhere. Were you there? That'd be really funny. Put the video so people know where it's from. This hoodie is really dope too. They designed it. The zipper hoodie. She gangsta. She gangsta. Rico wearing the hoodie. Johnny and Rico. Gangsta. Miyu says burn sage at your new home. That's true. I don't know how to do that shit. I got a Fauci a Catholic candle. Maybe I'll bring the candle with me and light it up when I get to the new place. Fauci candle. Ah, shit really hurts. I don't know what happened. Yeah, we got to do Alpha David. I got to talk. I don't know if Leslie will let us use what she made or if we could work something out. I love that Alpha David shirt she got me. I'm sure we could create one too. The girls could make something up. The hoodie's dope, right? I might have to get the hoodie shit myself too, just to rock it, right? When I go out and stuff. No, Jenny. She said I'm gonna need to see Mel in the bikini before I decide if I want to buy it. No. But the merch side, it's being worked on right now, so just give it a second. Or, you know, a little bit of time. There's gonna be more stuff popping up. Yeah, I don't know what this is right here. It feels like a muscle pain or something. I don't know if it's from, like, I don't know. Yeah, Dr. Fauci, you want to see it? You want me to go get it? Hold on a second. Let me go get it. I think some people got offended when I showed it last time. Where's my Fauci candle?
Be seated.
Is it 803, the mission report? All right, to this exhibit number 441.
Oh, they back?
I find that it is admissible under Rule 801 by a party opponent.
It is.
However, the portion of it that says,
Fauci.
when I get out of here is problematic.
Right. We'll
If
play
the
around with
defense
Fauci.
would like that portion of it redacted,
Right.
that would suggest that he's in rehab, and when he gets
It
out
actually
of
smells
here,
really good
he's
too. It's a
gonna
really
do
good
this or
candle.
that.
The shit's
We
held
can
the test of
redact that
time.
portion. If the defense does not wish to have that portion redacted, the exhibit will come in its entirety.
Fauci candle. This is good.
Your Honor, here's where we find ourselves on the defense side. His drug addiction and drug use is frankly res gestae to
Lick me, hoodie.
the alleged criminal conduct on the financial fraud. And it's hard for us on the defense side, and it didn't really get flushed out in our in-camera hearing because they didn't put evidence up of this, but it's something that we all knew. But it is part and parcel of the financial crimes, and it explains why he did what he did. And it does, in a way, pile on and make it even more prejudicial. And so when considering that, Your Honor, what we would ask is we want to renew our motion, object to all the financial crimes. Now that we know drug use is coming in the midst of it, because it is res gestae, it does tell the entire story, and we would ask the court to strike all the financial testimony the court's heard thus far, and let's proceed with a murder trial.
That motion is denied.
Thank you.
But the portion, the court admits this document and will redact that portion if requested by the defense. Do you want to redact the portion that suggests that he was in rehab? You says it's part of the res gestae. It may even be part of your defense. I don't know. The state is offering evidence, and
We're not asking it to be redacted. We would request that whenever we get in these 404B witness testimony that the court provide a limiting instruction. Thank you.
well, I'm not going to give a limiting instruction prior to every witness's testimony or in the middle of every witness's testimony. The court has given the limiting instruction twice and will do so at the end of the case as well. And there may be other instances, but not
They
at every
pissed. They hot,
juncture
bro.
where evidence is being offered.
They hot. They pissed. They don't like that shit.
Yes, sir.
All right, so this exhibit is admitted.
Ooh, wee. Lord, oh no. Lord almighty. Alec.
You may bring the jury.
So let's get back to the murder trial. All this bullshit with the drugs and the finance, we're wasting time. Nah. That's all part of the story. Oh, we're bringing it in. The only thing is this probably, maybe it makes it easier for him to get an appeal. Do we have proof of the drug use? I don't know. I really don't know. I'm sure these people over there, they could just admit themselves to these clinics. The way everything's crooked over there. Yeah, I got some drug problems. Just let me come and stay at this resort for a while. Cover myself. Y'all take my money, right? I don't know. I mean, he could have been on them pills, but, I don't know. Oh, that oxy, baby. Oh. I thought the camera started that shit again, but I just had a flashback. Trauma flashback. Damn, bro. Yeah, they pissed, man. They don't want this drug stuff coming in. You want to mug with all the characters? I gotta ask them if they could fit it in there. If they can do that.
Thank you. The objection is overruled. The exhibit is admitted.
May it please court, Your Honor. Just very quickly, when we left off, states 441 now admitted into evidence. This was a text you received from the defendant. Is that right?
That's correct.
And the date on that is September 26th.
September 26th, yes.
Is that 2021?
It is.
Oh, she back. Snitching. I'm just kidding with the snitching. BL said, okay, add 2 more weeks.
Is this the text that the defendant sent to you?
It is.
I only have a couple more questions for you. Before I
Bring in the drugs.
get to the end, one question I wanted to ask you was, what was the defendant's cell phone usage like?
He was always on his phone. Always on his cell phone, always on his office phone. He would quit one conversation and grab another. Sometimes he would have both phones to his ear.
Would it be unusual for the defendant to go anywhere without a cell phone with him?
Absolutely.
I want to play for you what's been admitted to evidence as States 297.
Oh, the Snapchat, is that what they're doing? They're going to do the audio, I think, right? Audio. Oh, a beanie?
Yeah.
I wonder if we have a beanie. Oh, no.
Get back. Quick, Cash. Come on. Quick. It's okay. Come on. Come here. Post it. Cash.
Hey, he's got a bird in his mouth.
Hey, Bubba.
It's a guinea.
This is a chicken. Come
Oh.
here. Come on, Cash. Quick.
It's crying.
Do you recognize any voices in that video?
I do. I hear 3 voices.
And tell me who you hear.
I hear Paul Murdaugh, Maggie Murdaugh, and Elliot Murdaugh.
And how sure are you?
I'm 100% sure.
Can I have the Elmo one more time, please?
I'm sorry. Oh.
Yeah, play it one more time. Let that shit ride.
Going back to
Oh,
states 441. Can you read just that one sentence starting where my finger's pointing that the defendant sent to you?
The worst part is knowing I did the most damage to those I love the most.
Thank you. Nothing further.
ooh, all right, here we go. Let's get it, baby. Turn up. Y'all got to come a little harder to the defense. It's time to pick it up. Let's go.
Good morning.
Come on.
Ms. Griswold, were you hired by Alec to work at the law firm?
I was hired by the firm, but he was in one of the meetings and it was my understanding that I was going to be working for him.
Right. And so you interviewed with him?
I did.
And you've been working, well, you worked with him for
About 9 years.
9 years?
Yes, sir.
And 1 second, I left my.
Man, we're getting old, man.
My
What the hell happened?
understanding is that you moved back to Hampton because your father was ill?
My father was ill. Yes, sir.
And then, so you moved your family back, you and your husband, and
Right. My husband and my daughter and I moved to be closer to my dad and help my mom with him.
and you got a job working at the law firm, and did you work exclusively for Mr. Alec Murdaugh?
Yes. I mean, there was other attorneys that I might do some work for here and there, but primarily Alec was who my attorney was.
And if you needed to take time off for personal matters, would you just have to run it by Alec?
That's correct. Yes, sir.
And he gave it to you, didn't
And he put family first at work, did he not?
Most of the time, yes.
he? And you turning your back
And he
now.
encouraged you to put your family first.
Absolutely.
And I think your husband had a heart attack. He was in the hospital for quite some time.
Yes, for 5 weeks before he ultimately
And who
passed
gave you
away.
off?
And I'm sorry to hear that.
Thank you.
But Alec encouraged you to do all you needed to do to care for him and don't worry about work. Isn't that right?
Yes, he did.
And now you're throwing your
And you
back
didn't
on
miss
us. Huh?
Paycheck.
I sure didn't.
Oh,
Is he a good person to work for?
It was hit or miss. I cared about
Hit or
him.
miss.
I respected him. I loved him. You know, you can't be that close and work with somebody without having, developing feelings for them and their family members.
Right.
But it was hard to work for him sometimes. He was a bit erratic, and for all the respect and love I had for him, it was still very difficult to work for him.
I think your description was he was like a Tasmanian devil that would come through at the end of the day.
He would.
Took
And he was
okay. You
frenetic.
throw your back on us
Yes.
now, huh?
Okay, and but people came to him if they needed something, right?
Absolutely, yes, sir.
And so he had a lot of people coming, and did he ever say no to anybody's request?
He didn't know the word no.
Right. And, well, he would want to schedule his appointments around his family's commitments, wouldn't he?
Yeah, absolutely.
So like if the Buster and Paul had baseball season, he'd be sure to block all that out off his calendar, wouldn't he?
Most of the time. Sometimes he didn't tell us about personal matters or things where they were going until the day of or whatever, and we would have to reschedule stuff. But if it was on the calendar, yes, he was going to be there for anything that the boys had going on.
He put in his work life family first. Is
Yes,
that right?
that's correct.
You would agree with that?
I would definitely agree with that.
And you got to know Maggie, did
I
you know?
did. Yes, sir.
And she was thoughtful for you on your birthday and anything you had going on?
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think you mentioned the Ferris trial in Columbia. That was in Columbia, wasn't it?
That was, yes, sir.
And you went to the trial, didn't you?
I did.
And you remember Alec going up on a Sunday and he spent the night in the hospital because his dad was going to have surgery the next day?
Yeah, I do, yeah, it seems like it's been a
And then-
long time, but yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then Maggie came up on Monday and stayed with him during the trial, right?
I never did see her. Our paths never crossed, because I was kind of in work mode, but I know she was there.
Right. And he traveled frequently with Maggie on work trips, didn't he?
Yes, sir.
And he would take his family to conventions and when they would have work, right?
As far as I know, yes, sir.
And Alec wasn't the type of guy that would go off on a guy's trip. His trips were family trips, weren't they?
I mean, I don't know that without a shadow of a doubt, but, you know, I know a lot of his trips were family related, something with him and Maggie, or him and Maggie and the boys and their significant others.
Right. And he was real close with Maggie's family too, wasn't he?
Yes, it appeared that they were very close.
And if Mr. Brandstatter's, Maggie's dad, couldn't get in touch with Alec on his cell phone, he would call you and ask, where's Alec?
Yeah, he would call myself or Christy and say, hey, can you get Alec to give me a call? Yep,
And they communicated quite frequently, didn't
they did.
they? And did you meet Mr. and Ms. Brandstatter?
I didn't meet him until, we had Mr. Randolph he got the, what
Order
was
of the
it?
Palmetto?
Yeah, and that's when I met them. That was the first time I'd ever met Maggie's parents.
The and if Alec was in even a deposition, and if Maggie or Paul or Buster would call, I mean, he would walk out and take the call, wouldn't he?
I never was present with them. I've heard rumors of such, but I was never present with him at depositions and mediations.
Well, in the office, if he was in a meeting, he would always
yeah.
take their calls, wouldn't he?
Absolutely, yes.
Never say, oh, gosh, tell her I'd call her back. He'd
No,
take her call.
no, he never put off calls with his family. He always talked to them.
Now, you were talking about the night that you learned that Maggie and Paul were murdered, that you thought when you first got the call that it was about Mr. Randolph.
Correct.
And we're talking about Mr. Randolph Murdaugh,
That's correct.
Alex and Randy's dad,
Yes, sir.
because it was well known that he had just been put back in the hospital and his condition was not well.
Yeah, it was my understanding that at that point, the family was making arrangements to bring him home and hospice may be involved. And so, obviously, we were all expecting awful news.
And he, in fact, did die on Thursday, June 10th, I believe.
I believe so too, yes, sir.
Right. And after that, you said that, the whole law firm rallied around not just Alec, but Alec and Randy and their families.
Absolutely.
Okay. And that's
And we
what-
rallied around each other because we were scared, we were worried.
Right. And then after, I guess there was like a tidal wave of media surrounding the law firm at some point in time, wasn't there?
Yes, sir.
And so y'all had to, be careful with comings and goings, and that was kind of scary, I take it.
It was. We ended up having to lock the front door because they would just walk in and just overwhelm the receptionist. So
Can I lock the
it
front door?
was-
Oh, for the
It was,
law firm.
became like a daily habit there for a few weeks, so we had to end up locking the door.
And as a result of Maggie and Paul's tragic murder, Alec Murdaugh became front and center of a media spotlight, didn't he?
He did, yes, sir.
And it wasn't I mean, and there were cameras outside the court, outside the office frequently, right?
There were, yes, sir.
And there were cameras out at Moselle?
I think so. I didn't go out there, but I'm assuming they probably were.
And all the buzz was about Alec Murdaugh and what happened to Maggie and Paul, right?
Yes, sir.
And all the while, you were around Alec on occasion, and
Thank you,
you
Kate.
noticed his demeanor, and he was
Or Cat. Thank you, Cat.
grieving greatly, was he not?
He was grieving, and he was also very humble. He had changed dramatically. Afterwards, he was more mellow, and he would come in the mornings, and instead of yelling Christy and Ed and telling us what to do, he would actually come to our desk and say hello and check on us, and we would in turn check on him. So he was very different after the murders.
And he had a hard time working after the murders?
Absolutely, yeah, as you could imagine.
Sure. And you're aware, and you had to keep up with his whereabouts, but he spent a lot of time with Maggie and
Maybe he's innocent.
Maggie's parents?
Yeah, he would tell me that had weekend plans, and I would hear him on the phone with his in-laws and making plans to meet up for the weekend.
And he stayed in Somerville a good bit with Buster, with Maggie's parents?
As far as I know, yes, sir.
And he and Buster traveled up to the upstate, some Lake Huey or something?
Buster.
Are you aware of that?
I remember him saying, the family had property or something up there, his in-laws, and they were all getting together.
And you're aware that Alec would not spend a single night after Maggie and Paul were murdered at Moselle.
Yes, sir, I knew that.
And when he was working in Hampton, he was either commuting from Somerville, Edisto, or staying with his brother Randy, or something like
I
that.
knew he was either staying with family or, he was coming back from Somerville or Greenville from being with the in-laws, but that's all I knew.
But he never spent one night more at Moselle.
Not as far as I know, yes, sir.
Now, you were asked questions by Mr. Waters about the Ferris matter was the furthest thing from your mind after the murder of Maggie and Paul, right?
Yes, sir.
And that you didn't do any more about that after Maggie and Paul's murder, right?
That's correct.
But I think you also said that you conveyed your concerns to Jeannie Seckinger, and that she essentially took over.
Yes, when I gave it to her, I knew she told me she would take it from there. And so I know I gave it to her, and that was that.
And so there's really nothing more for you to do on the Ferris matter after you turned it over to Jeannie, right?
Correct.
And then you were in Alec's office one day looking for a file, and you stumbled across this canceled check.
Yes, sir. It must have been underneath the file. I wanted in between that and something else. So when I lifted my file, it fluttered to the floor.
And and you felt, I think you talked to this jury about how this whole thing put you in a bad spot, and your daughter said you need to dust your resume off or something like that,
That's
right?
correct. Yes, sir. I was worried. I was hoping I was wrong. I was hoping that my gut feeling was wrong, and that what I was looking at was not money being stolen, and that he was not doing that. I was hoping I was wrong, but at the same time, I was scared to turn it in, because what if they, look into it and there's nothing going on, and then, it disturbs the relationship we had working together, and, what would I do? Would I be able to stay at the firm after turning him in on something so bad that he could lose his job over it? So I was concerned. I was concerned for my livelihood. I'm a single mom with a teenage daughter.
And nothing happened to your job, right?
No, sir, nothing happened to my job.
It's Alec who lost his job, right?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
And you mentioned in what's in evidence as Defendant's Exhibit number 441 is a text that you received from Alec, right?
That's correct.
And was it just to you, or was it you and
Me and Christy, his other
Christy.
secretary.
the other secretary? And the date is Sunday, September 26th at 4:30 p.m. in the afternoon?
Yes, sir.
And you mentioned it was from rehab?
Yes, as far as I knew, it was rehab. I assumed it was probably one of the steps of reaching out to those that you hurt and telling them you're sorry.
And Alec was in rehab?
Yes, sir, as far as I know, he was.
Oh,
And I want you to read this to the jury, the whole email, if you don't mind,
Okay,
please.
sure. Hey, it's Alec. I'm finally feeling a little better each day. I'm over the worst, but still feel like I have the flu. Real weak. I have been worried about y'all, and I'm sorry I didn't get to tell y'all myself. I know both of you been hurt badly by me. I know it sounds hollow, but I am truly sorry. The better I get, the more guilt I have. I have an awful lot to try to make right when I get out of here. The worst part is knowing I did the most damage to those I love the most. I'm not real sure how I let myself get where I did. I'm committed to getting better and hope to mend as many relationships as I can. You both are special people and important to me. Please know how sorry I am to have made you part of my misdeeds. I hope you are doing as well as possible. I love you very much. Please tell Cheryl and Haley hello, and I'm sorry. All my love.
Thank you. That's all the questions I have, Your Honor.
that's it.
Anything further?
Oh, okay. I think that was a prosecution. No, hey, just apologize. Okay, making
Mr.
amends.
Griffin asked you about whether or not you were worried about losing your job over these Ferris fees. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And then he asked you, the defendant lost his job, right?
That's correct.
After the murders, but before September, the defendant still had his job, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
He still had his law license, didn't he?
Yes, sir.
You said, in response to defense counsel's question, that people came to him if they needed something, correct?
Absolutely. Yes, sir. He was trusted by everybody, and they knew that if they needed something, all they had to do was reach out, and he was going to help them.
He was trusted by everybody. Did you trust him?
I trusted him. Yes, sir.
People came to him for anything, like all these clients right here?
Yes, sir.
Oh, Landa.
He was a prominent lawyer,
Yes, he was.
one of the most prominent in the region.
Yes.
And all of that came to an end in September 2021, when all of that came out, did it not?
Right. When I found the check, I knew that he had lied to me and that he'd stolen that money.
Oh,
Thank you. You may step down.
that's all y'all got.
You may call your next witness.
Johnny James for the state. State calls Michael Gunn.
Oh, he's back. We've heard that name before, right? Michael Gunn.
Mr. Gunn.
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing
Yes.
but the truth, so help you God. Thank you. You can have a seat on the stage. Adjust that microphone, adjust your seat. And you state your name again, and spell your last name, please.
Sure. It's Michael Gunn. Last name is spelled G-U-N-N.
Morning, Mr. Gunn.
Good morning.
Just barely morning. Where are you from, Mr. Gunn?
From Columbia.
Born and raised?
Oh, grew up in Conway, South Carolina.
Oh, grew up in Conway, South Carolina.
Yes, sir.
All right. Where you work?
Out of the same
Work for Forge
witness.
Consulting.
And what is Forge
Oh.
Consulting?
Forge Consulting, we are a settlement planning firm based primarily in Atlanta. I run the Columbia or South Carolina office, and we work with people, plaintiffs and plaintiffs' attorneys, to help them really try to take the settlements that have been recovered for them and try to make them make these settlements last a long time. These people normally have been in catastrophic injuries or wrongful death of a loved one.
He's with the
So
bank.
your
He didn't have a
company
jury
works
last
with
time.
law
Wow.
firms who represent people who've been hurt, and you,
I think the last time
if
was
they
no
get
jury,
a little
that's
bit of
why.
money to make them whole, you can help make that money last a longer time. Is that an accurate summary of what you just described?
Yes, sir, and that's the goal.
All right. When did you first start working for Forge Consulting, or do you work for Forge Consulting, or did you found it?
I'm one of the principals in Forge Consulting. We started in 2003. I've been there since 2005.
And what is your actual, you said you're a principal, what is your actual title at Forge Consulting?
I would be a principal and settlement consultant.
Okay. And so do you work directly with the attorneys yourself in arranging some of these settlements and structures and things of that nature?
Yes, sir, I do.
So if you could, what exactly is a structured settlement in a summary form?
Sure, kind of a primer on it. Essentially, a structured settlement is when it's only available to those who've been, first of all, to those who've been injured or involved in a wrongful death or workers' compensation. It's really a method for them to try and save money. And what I mean by that is when they get the settlement, they have an opportunity to put some of that money into almost like an annuity. And that annuity would pay them over time, much like a paycheck, because a lot of these folks have lost their jobs, they've lost a loved one, or they have bills to pay. And so by doing that, it allows them to receive that money, but not only do they receive the funds, they do receive them tax-free from the federal government.
Totally tax-free?
Totally tax-free, with interest.
Now, who actually funds these annuities that ultimately get paid out to those who've been hurt?
Sure. Well, generally speaking, the annuities are funded by the insurance company that's paying the claim or the defendant themselves. That's generally speaking.
And when they pay that claim, where does that money go in order to fund the annuity? Does it go to Forge Consulting?
The only way it would go to Forge Consulting is if the check was made payable to that insurance company, and then we would forward the check on to that insurance company.
So in that instance, you wouldn't actually be really taking the money, you'd just be stuffing it in an envelope.
We'd be a
and
mail
sending it on?
carrier. We'd just be a mail carrier, correct.
And I apologize. We're both speaking pretty quickly here. Madam Court Reporter can only record one of us at a time. So if I'm asking a question, try and let me complete it and then answer thereafter.
Yep.
So to clarify, the only instance where you would get any money is if the check is made out to an insurance company, you stuff it in another envelope and send it on its way.
That's correct.
But ultimately, the money comes from the insurance company to whoever's funding this annuity. Is that correct?
Generally speaking, yes.
And the people funding this annuity would be another insurance company or some other firm of that nature. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So that would be the structuring of monies awarded in a lawsuit to the person hurt. What about monies awarded to the lawyer in a lawsuit? What about an attorney's fees? Can those be structured?
They can be.
All right. And how does that process work?
It's a very, very similar process. It's then a similar outcome. The difference is the attorneys would be deferring it, but when they received the funds, they would have to pay the tax at that time. But it is a way to defer the taxes like that. But it's the same scenario. The money would have to come from the defendant and/or its insurance carrier, and there would also have to be language included in settlement documents, et cetera.
But it couldn't come directly to the attorney, could it?
No, sir. That would be constructive receipt, and the IRS would consider that taxable income.
Constructive receipt, and they would consider it taxable income. So, can you explain that just a little bit more for me?
Well, if they receive the money, then the IRS is going to consider that taxable at the time it hits their account. And therefore, undoing that is going to be quite a bit of a problem.
And so then they would get taxed on all of that money, correct?
That is correct.
As opposed to just the amount of money that they wanted to get that year.
That is correct.
And you indicated that it would be deferred taxation. So to use an example, let's say I represent somebody on a big suit and get $1 million in attorney's fees. If I were to structure it, I could have that stretched out over 10 years, $100,000 a year, and then, am I hearing it correctly? I wouldn't get taxed on $1 million all at once. I would get taxed on that $100,000 a year each year for those next 10 years. Is that a good way of describing it?
That is correct, yes, sir.
Okay. And as a result, pay less in taxes.
That's the goal.
Are you familiar with an individual by the name of Richard Alexander Murdaugh?
I am.
Do you see him in the courtroom here today?
I do.
Can you point him out for me?
Wearing a checked shirt and a blue jacket, it appears.
Let the record show that he identified Mr. Murdaugh. When did you first meet Mr. Murdaugh?
Probably 20 years ago, 20, give or take a few years, 20 years ago, probably at a convention or a continuing education seminar, since our primary market are plaintiffs' attorneys.
And what was your first impression of Mr. Murdaugh?
Very jovial, friendly, never met a stranger, just a, generally nice guy.
Did you have occasion to work with Mr. Murdaugh more going forward from that point in time?
I did, as generally speaking, as we get to know our clients, a lot of times friendships get born out of that, and you get more comfortable dealing with them. And so yes, I worked with his firm a great deal. Did a lot of work with his firm. I probably actively I've worked probably 5 cases with Mr. Murdaugh.
Now, in terms of those at his firm, did you work with Alec on a lot of cases or relatively few cases compared to his partners?
If you compare it to his partners, relatively few.
So most of the time you were working with the other folks at PMPED, but Alec maybe just a handful of times. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Did Alec hold any other positions other than his role at the law firm that caused you two to work with one another frequently?
Sure. At one time, he was the president of the Association for Justice, which is a voluntary organization of plaintiffs' attorneys. And so we'd be very closely together at trial lawyer events and things of that nature, CLEs.
And is there a shorthand for that organization that used to be applied to it? The
SCAJ.
SCAJ. As part of your professional relationship with Alec, what sorts of things would y'all do together?
Again, usually these would be at events. It was never really a one-off. It was usually events. Golf, dinner, lunch, things like that. Just things that you would do. Things that you would do when you're at a Hilton Head.
About how many times would you say you golf together?
I'd probably say I'd put the over/under around 15.
Life of the rich and famous.
And you'd go have dinner, maybe some drinks together at the conference, correct?
Not every year, but we would see each other. But, dinner was probably few and far between.
Did you ever go hang out with Mr. Murdaugh at Moselle or any of his other properties?
No, sir.
Did he ever come and hang out with you in Columbia for dinner or drinks or anything like that?
It would be business related.
Did you ever go to any sporting events with him, like a Gamecocks football game or anything like that?
I never went with him. I may have seen him there, but never went with him, no.
There's a lot of folks in the stadium at Williams-Brice on game day.
Depending on the season.
Did Mr. Murdaugh ever meet you in Columbia and deliver some checks to you and tell you, hey, these are for the clients for structures or anything like that?
Absolutely not.
Did you ever meet with him halfway between Columbia and Hampton and get checks from him?
Absolutely not.
Did you ever call him and say, hey, can you bring those checks to me so that we can finance this?
Absolutely not.
And would Forge, under any circumstances, accept client money checks personally in order to fund an annuity for them?
No, sir.
And so if you received or saw or reviewed an instrument made out to Forge and it said in the memo line, money for client or something to that effect, would that instrument be legit?
Well, it would be returned to the person that sent it to us with an explanation as to why we could not take it.
You would not take it?
No, we would not take it.
In working with Mr. Murdaugh, did you ever discuss options with him about how to structure fees for his clients?
Generally speaking, we have those conversations with attorneys, and I do remember he inquired about it, kind of went through what you would need to do, how you would need to do it, kind of the process in which it's done. So yes.
So did you explain to him some of the things that we've explained to these folks from around the county here today?
It's the same canned elevator speech I give to everyone. This is the mechanics of how it works.
Were there any specific cases that he came to you and asked you about whether you could set up a structure?
I don't recall if there was a specific case. I do remember there was a case where we sent some options over one time and nothing ever came to fruition. It was just, here's what you can do.
Do you recall the name Dion Martin?
I do recall the name Dion Martin.
What, if anything, do you recall about Dion Martin? Was that one of Alec's cases?
It was. What I recall about that case is that I got a signed option from plaintiff's counsel, signed by Mr. Dion Martin, or I'm assuming Mr. Martin, saying he wanted to set aside X amount of dollars. Not really sure exactly what that amount was. And he wanted to do it to an annuity. And so annuities, like anything, it's kind of based off of stock market and whatnot, so they can kind of go up and down. So there's a time window in which you are able to purchase that. If not, the rate may go up, the rate may go down. And so I consistently sent emails to Mr. Murdaugh as well as his paralegal, Annette Griswold. I would say at least 4, maybe 5 emails saying, hey, this is going to expire. This is going to expire if you don't fund this now. And after getting no response, after multiple weeks, we just closed our file.
So you did open a file for Mr. Martin, correct?
We open a file for every case, yes.
For every case, and I want to drill onto that a little bit. What prompts you to open a file?
Well, part of it is so that we can remember. If the attorney calls us and says, hey, I've got a case I'm about to start working on, or we got it, and they don't give us any information because they might be in the car, we can say, okay, this is the John Smith case, and I've got that tied to an attorney. And so that's how we do it.
Why are they talking about
So
opening
if you get
files?
so much as a phone call saying, I want to talk to you about so-and-so, you make a file,
That is correct.
even if it's just one conversation.
I always ask for a name.
Do you ask for any other information?
I ask for a great deal of information, but oftentimes that takes a little while to get. But the name is what I need first.
The chat likes this guy, Michael Gunn.
Are you aware of a boat collision that occurred in early of 2019 in relation to Mr. Murdaugh or his family?
I'm aware.
And are you aware of generally any litigation that resulted from that case?
I'm aware.
After that boat crash and that litigation began, did you have any further conversations with Mr. Murdaugh about structuring any fees that he might earn?
We had general conversations, generic conversations, but we never had any in-depth conversations.
So he never asked any specifics beyond the general canned speech?
It was, this is what you can do and this is what you can't do.
Did he ever bring you any fees and say, hey, I would like to structure these or anything to that effect?
No, sir.
Mel Gunn.
Do you recall in and around September of 2021, receiving a phone call from Lee Cope?
I do.
And what generally, well, tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. Mr. Cope called me, asked me if he could trust me, asked if he could trust my office as much as he trusted me, let me rephrase that, and said, I'd like to give you a name of some cases, and could you tell me what y'all have done for those clients? He gave me probably 10 to 12 names. I remember I was standing in my driveway, so I'm furiously writing down these names, hoping I could read my own handwriting. And I got back with Mr. Cope and told him I didn't have a file open on any of these people.
None of them?
Not a one.
Not a single name that he provided to you?
No, sir.
Did they follow up with you and provide you any additional names?
They did. The next day, he called me again, gave me another list of names, went through that list. The only name that stood out was Dion Martin that I referenced earlier.
Did they ask you about where Forge Consulting did its banking?
They asked me if we banked at Bank of America, and I told them we had not for the last 4 years.
Was it the last 4 years, or was it a little bit longer than that?
It was 4 to 5 years, somewhere in that range.
Hair's starting to look kind of crazy though. It's growing out.
I jumped ahead a little bit. You are generally aware of the events of June 7th, 2021. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, I am.
When did you first become aware of the murders of Maggie and Paul Murdaugh?
Probably early morning, on June 8th, probably 5:36 in the morning. I got a couple of missed phone calls.
What did you do after learning of the murders?
Other than being stunned by it all, I let my wife know, called a few other people, I let my business partners know.
Did you reach out to anybody in relation to Mr. Murdaugh or Mr. Murdaugh himself?
I did reach out to one or two of his law partners just to express my condolences, and obviously asked, hope it wasn't true, but that was confirmed. And then I waited a day and reached out to Mr. Murdaugh and just let him know we were thinking of him, didn't have the words for what to say.
Had you ever met Paul or Maggie?
I have.
Did you know Paul very well?
I didn't know Paul very well. I knew of him, but I didn't know him very well.
How well did you know Maggie?
I knew Maggie, pretty well. She would oftentimes, I believe when Buster was in school in Columbia, she would text me and ask me where he could get his hair cut and where he could get his pants hemmed and things like that. And I was kind of like her local Google. So, but it was funny because I'd always respond to her.
You're in Columbia, Buster's in Columbia, she's in Hampton, and so she's texting you with questions.
Absolutely.
Did you attend the funeral for Paul and Maggie?
I did.
Did you see Alec there?
I did.
Did he say anything to you?
Not at the funeral, but after.
Did you go to a wake afterwards?
I did.
Did he say anything to you at the wake?
He told me how much Maggie had loved me and my wife and our family.
Between that wake and September of 2021, did you see the defendant, Mr. Murdaugh, on any other occasions?
I saw him in Hilton Head in August. That was the only time I saw him.
Where did you see him?
At the SCAGE conference in Hilton Head Island, the annual convention. That's all attorneys and vendors and whatnot attend.
But at the lawyers' convention in
Yes.
Hilton Head?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Oh. Was anybody with him?
His brother John Marvin was with him primarily, but others were around, law firm, members of the firm.
What was the scope of your interactions with Mr. Murdaugh at the convention?
We hung out a little bit, or said, exchanged pleasantries, hugs, still, couldn't believe what had happened. And we did go to dinner. I went to dinner with him, his brother, and the majority, I don't want to count them off, of his law firm on, I believe it was Saturday evening.
Now, we've talked about Forge Consulting. Are there any subsidiaries of Forge Consulting or alternative names or other companies associated with Forge?
We do have two other companies that are under the Forge umbrella. One is Advocacy Trust, which is a trust company, and the other one is Advocacy Wealth Management, which manages, it's a veteran SEC-related wealth management firm.
Do you have any subsidiary, excuse me, stumbling over my own tongue. Do you have any subsidiaries that are just named Forge?
No, sir, we do not.
Did you ever tell Mr. Murdaugh that he could use the name of Forge Consulting or Forge for his own purposes?
Absolutely not.
Prior to September of 2021, did you have any knowledge that Mr. Murdaugh was using the name of Forge for his own purposes?
No, sir.
Bagman with court's indulgence.
Yo, my thing is, and I was talking to Mo and Diggs a little bit. They're just dragging this shit out. Like we know this guy stole. We know this guy did this forging stuff, and I know they're drilling the point, but we've had so many effing witnesses and days on this bullshit. Okay, what's next? This is not the charges. They're trying to put the context, but to spend the entire fucking trial on this financial bullshit. I mean, I don't know. We get it, but I don't see the nail in the coffin yet. We get it, motherfuckers. What's next? You know, like, damn, yo. Lost my voice there. Jesus. And I'm just wondering, like, is the jury annoyed with this shit? What's the next thing? Because they better have something else. Jesus Christ. How long are they going around with this shit? Can we tweet somebody that's over there? The prosecution? Can we tweet the prosecution? The same shit. He opened an account. We went through all the what do they call it? Disperses? My God.
Don't use the Lord's name in vain. I hate you. I want subscribing.
You get that every now and then. What else do you got?
Showing you a document that's already in evidence as State's Exhibit 335.
Disbursement.
This document says it's a Bank of America statement. Is this an account statement from a Forge Consulting account?
No, sir, it is not.
Here we go with this thing again.
Exhibit 335 on the Alamo for the jurors to see it. Richard A. Murdaugh, Sole Prop, DBA, Forge. That's not one of your accounts?
No, sir.
No further questions for this witness.
Thank God.
By the defense.
Ugh. What else? What other financial stuff do we got? Anybody remember? What other witnesses?
You had some formal positions with the South Carolina Association of Justice?
Yes, sir.
What were those?
Did some government affairs lobbying work for them.
Okay, you on a contract basis?
As an employee and as a contract.
Okay. And at one point in time, Alec Murdaugh was the president of the South Carolina SCAJ?
Yes, sir, he was.
And were you employed at the time or contract lobbyist?
Yes, sir, I was employed at the time, yes, sir.
And part of his duties, well, I guess he was on the board for a period of time as well, right?
That's correct, yes, sir.
And the SCAJ board and the president would meet in Columbia quarterly, monthly, how often?
They would meet in Columbia probably twice a year. They normally met at the convention spots or the CLE spots, and then one was always by telephone. But usually the president was in the telephone call. The president would come to Columbia.
He's not going to pull what he did before, though.
When you come to Columbia, you remember Maggie would come with him and spend the night on those business trips?
Sometimes, yeah. I don't know specifically for that for the Skage stuff, but I do. Maggie spend the night in Columbia, yes.
But you saw them traveling together in Columbia. I mean, you said you would see him in Columbia on business reasons. Was the business reasons his membership on the board and then?
I would say, generally speaking, most of the time when I would see him, it would be because of that. Yes, sir.
Okay. And then he and Maggie came to you and your wife's wedding in New York, right?
They did.
And my understanding is the big day came on the day of a big blizzard.
3 feet of snow, yes, sir.
And so you had to delay the wedding a day, right?
We did.
And you got to spend a lot more time with Maggie and Alec during that period of time?
All the other guests, yes, sir.
Right, and so, at that point in time, your wife became friends with Maggie, and y'all became pretty good social friends?
I think so. I mean, we still didn't really hang out much after the wedding other than in professional settings, and that could have been just because of the distance between the towns. But, yeah, we keep in touch, no doubt.
And then every year, I think you mentioned, there's an annual convention at Hilton Head of we used to call it trial lawyers, but.
I still do, too.
Yeah. of the trial lawyers, right?
Yes, sir.
And that's usually at a hotel. It used to be at the Westin at Port Royal, I think.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
I think maybe they moved it, I don't know.
Marriott now.
Yeah, so, and there would be seminars, during the day, and then there'd be socializing in the evenings.
Yes, sir.
And it was a family event.
Very much so.
And Alec would bring Maggie and Paul and Buster.
Every time.
And you got to see him interact with his entire family.
I did.
And he was a family man, wasn't he?
By all accounts, yes, sir.
And you went to Maggie and Paul's funeral?
Yes, sir, I did.
And then after the funeral, you went out to Moselle?
Yes, sir.
And I'm sure, what was Alec's demeanor?
He was a broken man. You could tell. He was very upset. He was very upset.
And then you saw him a few months later at that convention at Hilton Head?
Yes, sir, I did.
And you said he was with his brother John Marvin?
Yes, sir.
And his son Buster was there too. You remember that?
I believe that's correct, yes, sir.
Now, John Marvin's not a lawyer, right?
He's not.
Is it unusual for John Marvin to come to the lawyer convention?
I had not seen him before, no, at the convention, no.
Right. He was there supporting his brother?
I believe so, yes.
And people were trying to lift Alec's spirits up and support him during that period of time?
I think so, yes, sir.
Right. Right. 1 second, Your Honor. I don't have anything further.
Nothing further from the state.
Thank you, sir.
Lunch break. Let's take a lunch break.
Call your next witness.
Oh. So if it's Mark Tinsley was on fire last time, but I don't think that he's gonna be that fuego this time. I don't think the defense is gonna try to mess with him like that. Homeboy brought the flames out. I don't think Homeboy's gonna be pulling out court documents out of his side pocket this time, or this legal document. I don't think he'll be pulling some shit like that. This is not Tinsley though. I don't know who this is.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth?
Yeah.
Nothing but the truth? You got it. Thank you. If you'll have a seat on the stand. If you'll state your name. Just that microphone there.
Who
and
did?
Spell your last name for the record.
Brian Hudak, H-U-D-A-K.
Agent Hudak, how are you doing today?
Pretty good.
Where are you?
That's his name, Hudak?
South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, also known as SLED.
No
What
more
is your duty
SLED.
there?
I'm a special agent in computer crimes.
All right, and just briefly, what do your duties entail at the?
Conduct forensic examinations, cell phones, computers, vehicle infotainment modules, any sort of electronic device that can hold evidence. Also, I'm an evidence custodian for the unit.
Just a moment, sir.
What's this guy's name? Who that? Hudak?
I have the jury go to the jury room for a recess.
Ooh, what happened? Break time? Something happened. Y'all got like 100 SLED agents to come on this bitch. Damn, bro, they got the whole SLED agency, national agency and shit. Damn, bro. Got these people on the. What's that? Who there? Hooting? How come we can't hear the conversation? What they tell you? They giving him information? They sliding information to him? I can't, man. We just start calling them SLED from now. We ain't even gonna bother with their names anymore.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have to evacuate the building at this time, so we'll be in recess until we discover what's going on.
Oh, them old boys, them good old boys. That's when you got that money, baby. When you got that money.
We'll couple this with a lunch break until 2:30.
Them good old boys, man. Them boys, the country was making moves, shutting shit down. Bubba gonna call in today. We're shutting this shit down with these bastards. All this financial bullshit. Tell you I burned the place down. Can you mow or Dix? Can you clip that for me? And I just post it on Twitter. A little clip where he says evacuation or something. Post a little Twitter clip. Get some engagement. More than 250 potential witnesses listed. Yeah, that's just Hudak. Oh, his name is actually Hudak. Brian Hudak. I think it's it, huh? Brian Hudak. Huda. Huda, trying to get up in my shoe. Yeah. Yeah. Huda. So they're gonna leave the cameras running? But they got a bomb threat or something? What's going on over there? Them boys ain't playing, bruh. Them boys ain't playing. Mess around with them boys. Them country boys will fuck around. Shutting shit down. That's how that money moves. This is where Alex makes the escape. That's where they bust in there and make the escape now. The money boys. What's going on? Somebody find out. Oh, boy. All right, it's an emergency evacuation. We could all die at any moment, so please evacuate slowly. We will take a lunch break at this time. Yeah, I might not make it back. Might not be no after break. Who that? And by the way, the girls will tell me I gotta send more pictures. They don't have any pictures. They got like 1 or 2 pictures of me for the merch. So I have to send a bunch of stuff, I guess. I'll send that in 2 months. You'll get the pictures in 2 months. I'm just kidding. A year later. Y'all ready for the merch? So what's going on with the judge? Let's see what's going on. Let's see any of these Twitter people. The Twitter fingers. See what they talking about. Her name Shanley? Shanley. Whoa! We have to evacuate the building, the judge says. Hashtag Alex Murdaugh trial. Wow, it's exciting. Can you, let me see. Screen record. You can do that for me. I mean, I could, well, maybe I should just play it. Let me just do that. Never mind. Judge. The hell's that?
Ladies and gentlemen, we have to evacuate the building at this time, so we'll be in recess until we discover what's going on.
Uh-oh. Them old boys, them good old boys. That's when you got that money, baby. When you got that money. Uh-oh.
We'll couple this with a lunch break until 2:30.
Them good old boys, man. Them boys, the country was making moves, shutting shit down. Bubba gonna call in today. We're shutting this shit down with these bastards.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have to evacuate.
Bubba. Evacuate. What could be going on over there in that building, man? You think it's a bomb threat? It can't be a bomb threat. You think it's a bomb threat? Bomb, but there. Bunch of boys ain't playing. Alex Murdaugh. Country boys. They don't play. Buster. Yeah, where's Buster at? Did you see him in the courtroom today? Is he out there? Did Buster have something to do with this shit? I haven't seen Buster. He's been kind of quiet today. What's up with Buster? The Murdaugh boys ain't playing. Murdaugh. So they taking the lunch break too? He didn't even say what time they're coming back. Go take a break. We go. Lunch break. Bye. Dipped out. Oh look! Hold up. Oh shit! Run! Hold up. Them boys dipped. Them boys dipped out. Fuck it, we're out of here. Fuck this trial. Oh, I said 2:30? Oh. A 2-hour lunch break? Yo, what are we gonna do for 2 hours? Fuck it, we're out of here.
Last week.
Yeah.
But I saw everybody
whenever we
going
were
over here.
Get the scoop. What's the 911? Somebody got snitched. Where that lady at from the job? She's talking. Get that lady. Juke talk. Let me see what's
going on.
Uh-oh. Teabag. Oh, shit, got that Scarface. That shit is gangster. I like that shit. You just need Coke on the table, though. We gotta get some Coke on that table. Hold on. Scarface Mel or Mel Scar? Scarmel? Scarmel. Scarmel sounds great. Scarmel. Pacino Mel. Pacino's a liberal, though. We can't roll with that. Pacino Mel. Oh, gangster, bro. I need some ring. I want to always get some gold rings. I need some rings. That's the next thing I got to get. Some rings. Some, like, chunky rings. I got to slap somebody. Just, bah! Slap the screen or the camera starts acting up. Bah! With the ring and shit. Bah! When it starts distorting and acting up, just knock it with the ring. I want a ring. That's the next shit I gotta get. I gotta get that gangster shit. 2 rings. And I need a cigar. I don't smoke, just to have it there. Maybe just to light up. Just let it just sage the place with a cigar. That's what we gotta do it. Look at that shit. Gangster. And realistically, I need like an open button shirt. I need like my chest hair. I need something open button. There's no way in hell I'd ever be wearing like an undershirt. It looks like an undershirt. You know me, I'm never wearing an undershirt. The chest hair has got to come out. The Miami Vice shit, you know what I'm saying? I like this shit, though. It's gangster. This got to be my new profile image. We got to update this shit. Bomb threat. Ooh, GUI guy says bomb threat. Uh-oh. Country boys don't play. Mess around with them country boys. Mess around with them. I'm gonna play this.
Well, thank you for coming back. I have some breaking news for you. The Colleton County Courthouse where the trial of Alec Murdaugh is being held has been evacuated.
Yes!
Has been evacuated. Let me repeat.
Yes!
Has been evacuated. Why? Due to a reported bomb threat.
Yes!
They're moving people away from the courthouse right now for safety. As soon as we can get to our own Gigi McKelvey, we will have her on the air to talk about what is happening at that courthouse, where Alec Murdaugh may be being moved to, and what the precautions that are being taken are in place. Again, breaking news, there has been a reported bomb threat at the Colleton County Courthouse where Alec Murdaugh has been on trial. Now, indeed, Fanon, let me just tell you, Judge Rucker, you talked about this earlier. We know we have a recess until about 2:30 with the judges combining a lunch break and to try to find out what's going on.
Money
But let me
boys.
ask you about this. Somebody who calls in a bomb threat in a high-profile case, who do you look for? Do you look for somebody who's just trying to make a scene, who's trying to make a name for themselves, some sick person who just wants to disrupt proceedings, or do you look for somebody with a motive who wants to disrupt proceedings either for Alec Murdaugh
the
or
money
somebody
boys,
else?
bro.
Who do you look for, Judge Rucker?
That's loyalty right there. That's loyalty. That's some loyal shit right there. Bro, we get bomb threats every day. These schools get bomb threats every other day. It ain't shit.
Well, I will say that on something like this, in this day and age, with so many people who are seeking
Look at this
attention, it's a needle in a haystack.
Ooh.
Unless there have been other threats that have been issued.
Them boys bringing
before
pickup
this
trucks
time
out
that
there.
The general public was simply not made aware
That's the
of,
bomb squad,
but
pickup
that
trucks.
investigators, law enforcement, court personnel, possibly the FBI, may have been aware of. And this may be the culmination of that. What we're seeing is a tip of the iceberg of somebody calling in. It very honestly could be someone who was watching this proceeding on TV because it is high profile, and they're sitting around like, ooh, let me see if I can impact this somehow. And now are sitting back watching, the fruits of their labors with everybody outside kind of nervous, having disrupted a nationally observed proceeding.
Now, Judge,
Or
let
it
me just
could
stop
be a
you.
child.
Let me just ask you right now, because we're seeing our pictures, our photographer is taking right outside the courthouse. What is happening there? Let me ask you this. We talked just before we went back in the courtroom about the effect of things on jurors in a high-profile case. Here, I don't know when, if the jury is being told that there has been a reported bomb threat, but you.
Let me tell you, I'm sure there could be two things. The jury could either be annoyed because now maybe this is going to make things take longer, or they could be relieved. Like, thank God we're so tired of this financial bullshit that they've been going on. I get it's a part of the story, but like they're taking this shit at a snail's pace. We get the shit. Oh, yeah, I know. They got to lay that foundation up, but you're doing it with all these people. We get the effing point already. What else is there? Okay? And I don't know how many other SLED people they got to bring out. 100 SLED people that have more than half of the witness people. It seems like the SLED. All these SLED motherfuckers. All right, we get it. And they barely got. We got the GSR person, the guns, whatever, spread radius, whatever they call that shit. We got the people that took the packaging in, the people that took the buccal packaging. We get it. We got the people that put the things in the box. All right. What else? What other substantial shit do you have? I know it's circumstantial. What else? And we still got to go through the hospital staff people. Are they even going to have time for that? Everything's SLED. Crime scene analysis. I mean, hopefully we've gone through some of these people. GSR. This shit gonna drag, bro. This shit gonna drag for a while. I mean, I guess we should be almost done with the financial stuff. After the financial stuff, what else is there? That's what I'm wondering. Damn, bro. SLED.
You and I both know that if they haven't been told, they will learn it. That jurors learn these things, all right? Because the family members will be around. They'll be concerned about them. The jurors concerned for their own safety in a case like this. How does this now impact it?
Well, what we do know is historically there have been cases where jurors after the fact have talked about what they had going on, or jurors who have been dismissed have discussed how they were aware of the public clamor or things going on outside that could potentially, cause risk to their own families or to their decisions. And so certainly where they have been rapidly evacuated from the middle of the trial, you're right, they're going to find out what happened. The judge may even tell them himself, so that there's not so many open-ended questions about what's going on, thinking that their sensitivities may be better served by letting them know what happened.
Yes.
But everything that occurs in a courtroom during a jury trial is going to cause the jury to have a raised eyebrow and a second view of what it is that they're involved in. And I'm certain that these events will do this with this jury.
So, Judge, as we're looking at these pictures that our photographer from the Law and Crime Network was taking outside the Colleton County Courthouse, which has been evacuated for a reported bomb threat, and the trial of Alec Murdaugh will be in recess until 2:30 p.m. Let me ask you this as a judge. Do you have to bring that jury in one by one and ask them whether this has any impact on them?
Certainly that would be an appropriate thing. That would be an appropriate thing, and I would not be surprised if the judge does that. Again, the sensitivities of the jurors always has to be kept in mind. And if there is any concern that this incident has caused any one of them, because any one of them can cause a decision to be rendered one way or the other, or a mistrial. So if there's any concern that this evacuation and the potential bomb threat or the potential threat that they're under as a result of this trial has caused, then yes, I think it would be appropriate, not required, but certainly would be appropriate.
How about the witnesses, Judge? Talk to me two things. I'm going to give you an A and a comma. Witnesses who have not yet testified, or remember the defense is going to say, if I'm the defense, that Alec Murdaugh had a lot of enemies, and we talked about this prior to the bomb threat, and therefore there are a lot of suspects out there. Does this lead into that for them? Are they going to be able to use this in any way, or would you, as a judge, make a ruling that they can't?
No, I would, as a judge, I would certainly issue a ruling or a determination that it would not be appropriate for the jurors to remark, for the defense or the prosecution to remark in any way on this incident unless investigations reveal right now or in the very near future that someone associated with either the state or the defense or a potential witness was was involved in this. If that information comes out, then I'd say, yeah, you all have at it. But otherwise, it's speculative. And because of the innumerable possible sources of this call-in thread or however it came in, it would be unfair and irrational for the jurors to be able to hear testimony about what this may be related to. And
2 hours later,
should take that in consideration for their decision.
What are we going to do for 2 hours?
Telling the viewers again who may have just tuned in, the trial of Alec Murdaugh has been adjourned until 2:30 p.m. because there was a reported bomb threat at the Colleton County Courthouse. The courthouse is being evacuated, has been evacuated. We're waiting for our own Gigi McKelvey to get to a safe place as the law enforcement is going to investigate this to make sure no one will be harmed. Right now, it's just a reported bomb threat. We hope, obviously, that it's not a real bomb that has been placed.
Why not? That'd be
Judge,
interesting.
if you are now sitting on this case, and I bring you back to this, we have a lot of people now impacted, whether they be witnesses, whether they be reporters, whether they be the participants, the prosecution, the defense in regard to this. And at this point, we still don't know if that's a real bomb threat or if it was somebody just trying to make a name for themselves. So you're sitting there, you're Judge Newman right now. What information do you want to make sure that everyone is safe going forward and that this does not impact witnesses?
That there's not a bomb. That's it. I mean, what else?
Testimony, witnesses coming forward, or jurors?
Yeah.
Well, certainly I call in court security. I have a conversation with whatever chief law enforcement or supervisor is in charge of the scene, and I ask them very
now I can change the title of the thumbnail. Yeah, I mean the video. Yes.
That this was related to anyone who was involved in this case. And certainly the court, or excuse me, the law enforcement have to have limitations on what they reveal. But to the judge involved in this case, they would at least give preliminary information if they have it. And I, as the judge, would ask that information to ensure that this case...
That's not a bad idea. Somebody said we should take a 2-hour break and come back. Maybe we should just take a break and come back. When they come in, 2:30? because we're gonna hang around for 2 hours. Maybe we can actually take a little break and relax. You know what I'm saying? Get some drinks and shit. You know what I'm saying? Smoke up, toke up. You know what I'm saying? Whoa. What y'all want to do? Wanna be ballers? Man, I can't wait for Cousin Eddie, bro. Cousin Eddie gonna take the stand. Flame the shit. She'll come back in 2 hours. What y'all think? We should take a break, right? Let's take a break, man. Come on, man. Let's take a break. We're human. We're people. We need a break too, right? We're so plugged into the internet. Take some time to call our family members, give hugs to our kids and shit. Right? Let's unplug for a change. Slad. Nah, I ain't running a poll on that shit. You crazy? I know people are going to say, no, you got to stay, Mel. We ain't doing no poll on that shit. No, you must stay. Let me set up the next stream. Let's take a little break. I actually like that idea. I like that idea of the break. You know what I'm saying? I could take a little while for myself. Go, I don't know, do some stuff. You know what I'm saying? You know, right? Take a little break, bro. Take care of yourself. And I can turn on the captions too, because the captions aren't on, right? Take a little break. Everybody needs some loving. So let me see. Bomb threat lunch break. We'll title that. Bomb threat lunch break. Let's see. Part 2. Part 2. Yeah, we'll take a little break. Why not? Yeah, man. Why? Why are you taking a break, man? Yeah, take a little break. A little break time. Drink, smoke. We'll put part 2. You better come back though. Don't leave me and not come back. Don't cheat on me. I want to see that you're loyal. Get a tattoo with my name on it. Don't put iCkEdMeL. That's kind of drastic. Maybe Mel. Get a Mel tattoo. Like Drake on the forehead. Kidding. Green. Outline. Part 2, bomb break. Hey guys. The highlight of the day, a bomb threat. Yes. Yes. So we put it for 2:30. Let's see. Yes. Oh, how unfortunate. I'll turn on closed captions this time. We got a bomb threat. A bomb threat. Yes. Yes. Oh, why am I getting a bunch of DMs? What do I do now? I should do 2:15, but I'm picking up the baby though, so I don't think I could be back by 2:15. Maybe I should do 2:20. How about that? Or 2:25. Let's do 2:25. How about that? Just enough so I don't get too frantic when I'm rushing back. Like just enough time. 2:25. Let's do that. How about that? How about that? Let's see. Did I miss any super chats? Tracy, thank you for the 10-month membership. Says all Mills in old school. Olan Mills style portrait. Oh, I don't know what Olan Mills is. I have to look that up. Olan Mills. Joanne Nelson, can you chew gum or eat in the court? I don't. It seems like you can. These people have been chewing up all day. These people have been popping pills in the core. I guess they can do it. Cat C, thank you for the super chat. Amethyst, love saying that. Thank you for the super chat. KJ, my live TV on iCkEdMeL. Hit like, repeat daily. Thank you so much. Yeah, hit the like button. I'm gonna take you guys over to the new stream. What if it blows up? I know that would suck to miss. It'd be cool if we were like streaming and the shit just blew up, like the camera just went boosh. I don't think there's a real bomb, but it would be dope if we were streaming the actual live feed. So hopefully we don't miss that. SW4x4, thank you for the super chat. Says you're hilarious. Thank you. I try sometimes. Thank you. Carla, thank you for the membership. KB86, bomb threats at so many South Carolina schools every day for 2 weeks. Yeah, we got bomb threats all the time. Tracy, but they got to take it serious, of course. Tracy, thank you so much for the super chat. Icked face. All right, so we're going to take a little break, y'all. I'm just going to chill out for a little bit. And hopefully I'll come refreshed. Hopefully I'm not more tired than before. Okay, we'll take a little nap. We should do a nap cam. Yeah, when I get to the new place, I might have some crazy shit set up. I might have, you know how there's a way for me to like hook up another computer and I can have a cam. So if I have to one day and when I'm in the new place, I have my computer set up. But if I want to go lay down, if we're doing a trial and I'm like tired, I might just take the laptop, go lay down in bed, have a little bed cam there, we just chill, go to sleep. That'd be amazing, wouldn't it be? But then I have to get up to control the stream though if I need to make any changes. But anyway, yeah, we'll be back 2:25 Eastern. Love you guys. I'll see you guys in a bit. Take a little relaxing break. Take some time, unplug, relax. Don't watch anybody else. You can't watch any other YouTubers. Just turn off the device and turn it back on at 2:25, okay? All right. Bomb threat. Yes. 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 I'm so disappointed. All right, guys. See you in a bit. Love you. Bye.